Get it on. Much better.
It must be quite apparent by this time to any thinking individual that the people of our country and people of other countries all over the world are coming to face a moment of grave decision. A time when we will choose the course of our future.
Oklahoma, Texas, New York, Philadelphia, around the world, it's gonna be a big nut bust.
The Millennial Media Offensive podcast is now live.
That's right, you're listening to MMO number 199. Today is December 23rd, 2025. And from the great city and state of St. Louis, Missouri, I'm Dan Gearing.
And from America's South Coast, where if I don't see you before Christmas, Merry Christmas, I'm John G. Dew.
Merry Christmas, indeed, John G. Dew. I've been aggressively doing that this year. I've become the boomer where somebody says,
it's interesting.
Happy holidays.
It's interesting to see it's interesting to see what people respond with. Because I don't know. I feel like it's varied and you can't really guess based on people's appearances.
Sure,
I've had some people that I would have sworn would have said Merry Christmas back, and maybe it's just they're surprised by it. But some of them don't respond at all, just a thank you. Some do respond with Merry Christmas. I would say most where I'm at respond with Merry Christmas. I've gotten one Happy Holidays, and I wanted to fight. But
you just look at the nose. It's either Merry Christmas or Happy Hanukkah. If they're
fair.
darker than you, it's Happy Kwanzaa. Boom.
Kwanzaa. Now, an interesting anecdote. I was in the Walmart the other day, and
You'll find a few Kwanzaa celebrators there.
yes, I haven't even considered Kwanzaa though. And there was a black lady in front of me in line at the Walmart, and she told the cashier, who was also a black lady, Merry Christmas, and the cashier told her Merry Christmas back. I told the cashier Merry Christmas, and I didn't get a Merry Christmas back.
That's probably because she's like, aren't you the guy that goes online every Tuesday and makes subtly racist comments about black people?
I don't think so.
My mom.
You know how many people listen to this show?
So
Like
my parents,
12.
they came to St. Louis for a little bit after my kids were born, and they hung out. And my mom said,
Is this that intervention that you were talking about?
yes. They were like, you are too addicted to talking to that long-haired guy from Mississippi. You need to take a break. But she went to Walmart, and she had a very similar experience where there was a black cashier, and she was very nice and friendly to a black person in front of them, and then very rude to her. And she said, I feel like that was the first time I've experienced racism. I go, that's not racism, Mom. That's St. Louis.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. You need a billboard outside of town that says, come experience racism in Confluence.
In Confluence, Missouri. Yeah, you know.
But no.
That's upsetting. How did you, what did you say? Did you take your Merry Christmas back?
No. I take it back. No, I did not. I did not take it back. I just carried on about my day. I'm not the kind of guy that goes around trying to stir things up. I'm more of an experimenter.
I like the social experiments. I haven't written into the local newspaper in a long time, but I did enjoy it. Lighting tires on fire, hypothetically.
Well, if you lay off of next door, then you'd have more energy and time for writing letters to your newspaper.
Dude, next door, I keep, I'll get back on and I'll get banned in like a week or whatever, just because I like pushing people's buttons. Lately, I've been going on and just writing on random crime reports. I don't even look at the crime report. I just write, seems like the type. And I keep getting reported for discrimination. I'm like, I'm not even.
You really got to tone that down to, well.
So it's funny because like I don't even care. I just look at the crime report section and I just run through it and go, seems like the type. And it's funny the ones that get flagged and the ones that don't. because it's not like consistent like you'd think. I went in thinking, oh, a certain group of people that are actually that's the one that's going to get banned. It's just seemingly random. Somebody's reporting my comment. Seems like the type is discrimination. So I like all people. Mostly.
I do too. Most of them are at least entertaining.
I agree.
Even those who aren't bubbly and full of joy, they're still. If you find, I find most humans interesting.
Yeah. I think most are. You just gotta unlock it. I think I've said it on the show here before, but prior to COVID, I used to go to it was called the Hill Cigar Bar, and it was like black, white. Everybody was there, and it was funny because when you're smoking a cigar, you're there for like a good 45 minutes to an hour. Everyone's drinking scotch and smoking cigars, and so you're having like real conversations with people that you usually wouldn't, and it's a lot of fun. And you get to unlock a little bit of that interestingness. I remember I hung out a couple of times with this guy that was a DJ that specialized in Afro beats. And I was like, oh, what's that? And he played a little bit of it for me. And I'm like, you know what? Not a big fan, but I can see the appeal.
Yeah, because we're open-minded here.
That's right. You're on the offensive.
Highly critical, but open-minded about it.
Forever and always.
Well, since we're talking about Christmas, why don't we talk about some of this weather that most of the nation is dealing with this week?
Okie dokie. Yeah, it's different.
How's your weather? Are you getting any of the flooding? I'm sure there's no flooding unless it's the Mississippi River, but any winter storms your way expected?
No, we're supposed to hit 70, possibly 75 on Christmas Day.
Yeah, same here.
Which is nuts.
I know. HR was like, wear a Christmas sweater to work. I kind of chuckled when I got the email, and I thought, no.
I'll wear a Christmas cutoff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've got an NBC clip about this coast to coast severe weather. And really it's not coast to coast, it's both coasts. Because to your point, St. Louis, 75 degrees, it's not really severe weather. But NBC, let's listen to NBC's report about the Christmas week weather phenomena.
Perfect. Art Bell giving us the report, coast to coast.
That's right. That's
Tonight, the wrath of Mother Nature impacting travel coast to coast.
I don't know if we're going to make it.
Parts of the West Coast slam with
I don't know if
torrential
we're gonna
rain and
make it.
flooding. In Redding, California, authorities say a driver died after their car got stuck in rising waters. The mayor saying that person had called 911 for help, but their phone died. By the time police officers arrived, it was too late.
We had our police swimming through the water, breaking the glass of the vehicle, pulling the victim out of the vehicle. It's just really unfortunate the victim just didn't make it.
Across the region, first responders making multiple water rescues. Here, seen swimming out to a submerged vehicle. Sheriffs also responding to trap residents in rural areas by jet ski, where in some places the water was chest deep. Even these goats needing rescue. And look at this, the force of the storm so strong it caused a deluge of water to erupt from an oversaturated drain. The powerful storm also hitting the Sierra Nevada.
Right now, there's probably about a foot of water.
Firefighters rescued multiple people, including children, stuck in this rental home outside Tahoe. You can see them climbing on a ladder extending over the floodwaters to get to safety. Among those bracing for a deluge, San Francisco, where almost all of the power is finally back on after that massive blackout over the busy pre-holiday weekend that brought the city to a standstill. Videos show self-driving Waymo cars stalling in the streets, unable to navigate the downed traffic lights. The company temporarily suspending service. The cause of the electrical fire that led to at least some of the outages is still unknown. Meanwhile, across the country, some 122 million Americans are estimated to travel this holiday season on the roads and in the air, hoping to get out in time.
All right, Liz joins us now live from LAX. Liz, we'll get to those delays in a moment, but I know you have some breaking news tonight. LA is now announcing evacuation orders ahead of the storm.
Yeah, Tom, the city has announced isolated evacuation orders starting tomorrow for some of the areas impacted by the fires earlier this year. As for airports across the country, well, today there have been just scattered cancellations and delays. With that storm moving in, it could be a much different picture tomorrow. Tom?
A much different picture. Wow, I didn't actually know about all these events going on in our nation.
Well, yeah, it's interesting because the report and the video is titled Coast to Coast. Actually, severe weather impacting travel. Coast to Coast is the video name. And as far as I can tell, they only talked about the West Coast.
Is that where all the flooding was happening?
Yeah.
Wow. And LA is where are they gonna evacuate LA to?
That the desert permanently.
The Texas, they're just gonna flip Texas blue overnight.
Right.
Get out of here.
Right.
Wow.
I was actually looking for a map of evacuation warnings orders for LA County. Let's see. Give me a map, people. My Lord. People still don't understand how important maps are.
They're very important.
They're very important. We're map champions here.
Indeed.
Let me ask you to look again at a map.
I got a clip later where you're going to need a map.
Ooh, I like needing a map.
Yeah. L.A.
Yeah, so it seems like it's in these parts of L.A. where the fires happened last year.
Those people can't.
Which makes sense. Yeah. Well, we know that for as long as California has been in the written word, it has been described as basically hell on earth. So I don't think this is anything new, but it is happening, and I thought it was interesting to bring and talk about, given the travel that's going on this week. You're not traveling for Christmas, are you?
No, we're here local in St. Louis, so I'm excited for that because traveling with kids.
Are you having any visitors with? I know your parents recently came down.
We're actually going to my in-laws' house for Christmas Eve and then Christmas afternoon. So
very nice.
Yeah, should be a good time. But hold on. We just received a boost from Eric PP, which officially puts us over 10 million Satoshis since starting this podcast.
Wow.
That's pretty big, huh?
Yeah, that's a tenth of a Bitcoin.
10%. Split two ways. 5%.
10%.
That's amazing. So thank you very much.
Dropping in value by the second.
That's right. Just think, in 40 years, we'll have received an entire Bitcoin.
Let's see. What is the Bitcoin? It's still around 88 million, 88,000.
It's time to buy right now if you haven't bought. I know a lot of people are freaking. I don't even pay attention to the noise anymore.
Yeah.
I just keep stacking sats.
Yes, and a note on the Bitcoin front. If you are listening to any of our archived shows, any shows from the past, I have changed my Lightning node previously. And if you're listening to some older shows, you will get a failed key send on your boost when you try to boost a show where I had an old node connected and using it as a wallet. So don't. If you see a failed sending attempt while you're listening to an old show of the Millennial Media Offensive, I appreciate you letting me know. Feel free to let me know, and I'll confirm that it's an old show and it's just a product of the settings for boost. Oh, did you?
Yeah, it's hard coded in the feed, so I just fixed it.
Okay.
When you sent that, so we're good now.
Oh, well, good. Well, okay, go back and listen to all the old shows and boost away.
Yep, do it. We're good to go now. Rerouted John's Satoshis. Part of podcasting 2.0. Yes, technology. I love that the technology is literally a wall of script and it's existed for 20 years.
Science.
Science, indeed. Perfect.
Well, you heard it mentioned in the weather clips, But I have some specific clips about the San Francisco power outage. This is something I hadn't heard about either. I saw the weather clip in my YouTube feed because I watch a lot of stuff about weather, and especially, trying to keep up with solar weather and the climate narrative. I get a lot of weather reports when we're having something about the weather in the news. And then on the heels of the weather report, I started seeing these reports about the San Francisco power outage. And I couldn't help but think or wonder if there would be any similarities to the Spanish power outage. Do you remember when all of Spain basically lost power?
Yep.
Because of a failure in their modern green grid that we speculated about and were vindicated in eventually.
Yeah, it was like some sort of power surge.
Yes. I was wondering if there would be any connection or any similarities in this San Francisco power outage. So I went and pulled a few clips. First one I have is the Good Morning America report on the San Francisco outage.
Power is coming back on across San Francisco this morning after a widespread blackout left the city in the dark just days before Christmas. At the peak Saturday afternoon, more than 130,000 customers were without electricity.
The Saturday before Christmas is historically one of the busiest shopping days of the year. This is the worst time that PG&E could have a problem.
The outage also triggered major traffic chaos. Traffic lights
It sounded like major traffic road rage
out across the city, made worse by abandoned Waymo vehicles, unable to move without the lights to help guide them.
Waymos are all trapped here.
Waymo this way blocking traffic? Waymo that way. Oh my God, it's the double Waymo.
Videos posted online show
Double
fleets of
Waymo.
driverless Waymo cars stuck at intersections. The company temporarily halted service. PG&E says the outage was caused by an electrical fire at a substation. Officials brought the blaze under control by 6 p.m. The cause of the electrical fire is now under investigation.
This is unacceptable. I've never seen anything like this in the over a decade I've been here in San Francisco. There will have to be further investigation.
PG&E is still working on the issue, but we did hear back from Waymo. A spokesperson says they are resuming ride-hailing service in the San Francisco Bay Area. And throughout the outage, they say they closely coordinated with San Francisco city officials. They are focused on rapidly integrating the lessons learned from this event. So perhaps if this happens again, the Waymos will know what's going on.
Yeah, lessons to be learned for sure.
No kidding.
Thank you, Stephanie. Appreciate that.
We now have Waymo data points.
Waymo data points. That's good. That's a good one. I like double Waymo.
Double Waymo. Yeah, I saw this about Waymo that uses lights and doesn't use LiDAR. And there's this big discussion about LiDAR, which is what Tesla uses, still functioned, even though there's no lights that Waymo requires to be used. And it's one of the reasons why Waymo can be easily defeated by a traffic cone over on the roof.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Now, they mentioned that it's because this was because of a fire at a substation. I think this is the perfect opportunity to blame this on the base. You sent me an article about the base.
Yeah.
And
I was paying attention to that kind of stuff because of what you said last week after the Bondi shooting, how we could have an attack, be it false flag or real, in the United States against the Jewish community or people that are, I guess, considered anti-Jewish or anti-Semitic. And so I saw that. I also have not a clip about the base, but let's hear about the base.
Well, no, I don't have a clip. I wanted to bring it up because in that article that you sent me, it specifically mentions how they have advocated for attack against infrastructure in the U.S.
Oh, that's right. I recall it was on the East Coast originally when people were doing stuff.
Yeah.
Shooting at electric stations and whatnot, or I think that was
Right.
the plan, something along those lines. Yeah, the base is on the rise. There was a neo-Nazi march in Arkansas this week, too.
I'm sure, somewhere.
Yeah. The Arkansas mayor is disheartened by it. It's really
the
not
one Arkansas mayor?
the Little Rock mayor.
Ah, Little Rock.
Yeah.
Yes. I saw your spelling of little in the folder. I should have known that it was Little Rock.
Little Rock. It's the German spelling.
Yeah, Little Rock.
Yeah.
I have one more clip about the power outage. This is, well, that may have been what we just played. Did you just play Coming Back On, CBS?
No, I played GMA outage.
Okay, well, let's see if this one's different. This is Coming Back On.
Coming back on.
Tonight, most of the lights in San Francisco are back on. That's after a massive power outage that left large chunks of the city dark. CBS's Nicole Valdez has more on how things are looking a little brighter. Nicole.
Good evening, Derica. Utility crews are still working to bring the lights back on in parts of the city after the blackout brought many neighborhoods to a grinding halt.
Gridlock across the Golden City. A blackout plunged about 130,000 customers into darkness Saturday.
Right now, we're focused on getting customers back online, back with power as soon as we can and as safely as possible.
The power outage impacting about a third of the city. The Pacific Gas and Electric Company blaming it on a fire at a substation. Restaurants and stores forced to shut down during one of the busiest shopping weekends of the year.
No lights or nothing. I took my Lime up here, almost got hit by a car. No one can see anything.
Dozens of Waymo self-driving cars stopped in their tracks. The company suspended the car's operations due to a lack of power to the driving sensors throughout the city. Cars left abandoned, clogging intersections. The lack of power locking the doors at this business, first responders using a crowbar to get workers out. By late Saturday, crews got the power back to more than 95,000 customers.
About 14,000 customers are still without power, according to PG&E. There's now a community resource center to help those affected through tomorrow if needed. Derica?
All right, Nicole Valdez, thank you.
I can't get over Jerica, but I'm glad those people have a resource center to get some help.
Yes, of course. Okay, well, that's what I've got on the power outage and the weather. Here, where do we go from?
Uh-oh, I might have turned up your noise gate a little too much.
Why?
You faded out a little bit.
Oh, I was looking around my my pop filter, so maybe that's why. But I can stay close to it. I can see most of my notes. You know, I started using tab groups on my browser, and it's almost like discovering the wheel or something.
Cheat codes.
Yeah.
Together. I like it.
You know, I had a really good, at one point on my last computer, I had a really good extension that would let me create sticky notes on specific web pages, and the sticky notes didn't follow you. They were just embedded on the, I don't know if that's the correct term, but they were present on the web page when you revisited the web page. And I cannot find that sticky note extension because it was really good for looking at articles. And if I had a piece of an article I wanted to read, if I go back to the article, I don't have to scroll and find that piece during the show. I can just have the sticky note at the top. It was really nice.
It does sound nice. And now it's no longer there. The airing of the grievances on this Festivus. There you go.
Yes. I have an update on the MIT, the brown MIT shooter, not brown guy MIT shooter. I mean, he's kind of brown, but not really. The Brown University MIT shooter. I have an update clip. It's kind of an update. It's more of a commentary clip with some updates implied. And we can talk about some of the things that have happened since the last show. But if you go to the Brown MIT shooting, which I'm realizing now how poorly worded that is, you'll find a clip called Paul Moreno on shooting. Yep. Paul Morrow. This is on Fox.
Gotcha.
Let's bring in Paul Morrow. He's a Fox News contributor and retired NYPD inspector. He was in Providence all of last week. Paul, thanks so much for joining us this afternoon. You know, when you look at all of these elements that we're seeing here, that he went through all these lengths not to be tracked, there won't be a trial here. Apparently killed himself in a storage unit.
Yeah.
there could be a trial.
How can police piece together what was going through this guy's mind?
Well, this one is going to be, I think, more difficult in terms of trying to ascertain what was going on in his head than many of the others
There's a
we've seen.
freaking hole in it.
He seems to have taken great care not to leave a significant electronic footprint.
And he shot himself in the head.
As Brooke mentioned, he used a particular type of phone. He used particular type of SIM cards so as to obfuscate his movements. It's not clear how long he was doing that, but that could make it a lot tougher to figure out where he's been and what he was up to. He didn't have any kind of social media presence, which would be something else you'd go at. If he did all of these things, you have to imagine that he was probably doing stuff similar to it relative to a computer, maybe financial records. There's all these reports that he had money, and obviously he had the money to come up and do this operation. He came up at least 3 or 4 times previously in the months prior to the event to try to scout out the area. So I would be wondering, where did the money come from? How is he supporting himself? What kind of lifestyle did he have? And you may be down to very old-fashioned stuff, as in doing interviews with people who might have known him and just trying to figure out where he worked and who he knew.
The feds. He knew the feds for sure. Yeah.
Yes, which agent did he know?
Right. Yeah, he had very specific cell phones. He had no digital footprint. He killed himself. He did both of these shootings, one of a nuclear scientist, the other one at a Brown University. Yeah, the whole story stinks. This is the first time where everyone looked at it and said, well, whatever we're being told is not true.
Yeah, I'm leaning more toward this being an Iranian operation every day. And I want to say that before the feds come out and say it was Iran, and everybody in our sphere says, well, there's no way it was Iran. This looks like Iran getting into the game of assassinating prominent nuclear scientists. And I think, unfortunately, the shooting at Brown was a very meticulously planned and scouted diversion tactic. And I know there are different law enforcement agencies where the scientist was versus where the Brown shooting was. The Brown shooting was a very soft target and would have pulled attention from so many agencies you can't even comprehend how many agencies would have been at least on call when this Brown shooting happened. So they would have all been focused on this. Anyone who's paying attention to anything in that general area would have been allocating resources to the shooting at Brown, and he just drives right up to the scientist's home, takes care of him, goes to meet his handlers at the storage units, and they tie up a loose end with the suicide rig. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Where they put your arm in the metal brace, and they just crank it until it forces you to point the gun at your own head.
Then they leave you.
What movie was that in?
I don't know.
Was it Law Abiding Citizen?
Oh man. It's been so long. Could be. Whenever I hear that stuff, I always think Manchurian Candidate, which it's not, but it's a great movie. But anyone who hasn't seen it.
Well, what do you think about the idea that this, one, was a foreign op to kill one of our prominent scientists, and two, only related because the Brown shooting was a soft target diversionary tactic?
I do like the idea that it's foreign done, because that's one of the reasons why we haven't heard any sort of narratives out of the White House, because I think it's kind of embarrassing for us. So I think that's why it's like, oh, this guy was just crazy. He was deranged. He went to school with this guy. He's a Brown alumni. That kind of stuff. I think everything makes sense. That he's obviously had some past grievances. He went to Brown University. He went to Brown with this guy. So he went to go to Brown to go and kill this guy, but he wasn't there, and so he went to his home by MIT. So I like it. I think it's plausible for sure, but I think the silence out of the administration is pretty damning as to we didn't know this was a op, and then you have what's his name announcing that he's leaving the FBI.
Yes,
Dan Bongino.
Bongino.
Yep. So,
yeah, your promo codes are not going to work for much longer.
No. Promo code. Whoops, that guy slipped through.
Yes, the movie was Shooter.
Oh,
Mark
yeah.
Wahlberg in Shooter.
Yeah, that's a good one. It's a long time since I've seen that.
Often called the conspiracy sling.
Shooter. Let's see. I always like to look at the Rotten Tomatoes score of movies that were good. But critics.
I feel like
don't
Shooter's going to have like a 5.8.
It's
tomato.
47 critic, 80 audience. So
okay, so I wasn't too far off.
Yeah, but that's when I see that, I know it's a good movie.
I've found that movies from that era that I enjoyed, it's well worth rewatching them to see if they were actually good movies or if they were just entertaining. Because Shooter is entertaining, there's no doubt. Law Abiding Citizen is entertaining, but I haven't rewatched them lately to make sure that they're good movies.
Right.
A great example is Full Metal Jacket. Full Metal Jacket's one of the most entertaining products in the world, but I don't think it's a good movie. Primarily because it looks like the boot camp half of the film was originally, and I will die on this hill, it was a short film. It was a masterful piece of film. And then they had to adapt it for commercial screens. So they added everything that happens in Vietnam, and it's trash. It is a mockery. It's not serious. The second half of the film is not serious. Where the first half is very serious, it depicts boot camp, what I feel is in a very transparent way for that time. I don't think R. Lee Ermey would have done the role if it hadn't. But then the second half of the film is just this cringy, unserious bit on the flailing in Vietnam, and it doesn't hold up.
John G. Doo would have walked out of the theater second half. There you go. I feel that way. Like, there are movies that are entertaining. I think I mentioned No Escape, which got terrible critic ratings because it was supposedly racist, but very entertaining movie. The more, I think about it and I watch it, the plot line really doesn't make any sense. Pierce Brosnan just kind of shows up and saves his family out of nowhere. But it's still entertaining the first time you watch it. So I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I feel about these ops.
Right. Well, I thought it was very interesting that the former New York inspector calls it an operation.
Yes. I mean, that has many different terms, but it does kind of sound like, and he, even while he's saying it, is saying, wow, this really seems fishy without saying it, He's doing all this stuff, all these crazy different things that he could take, no social media footprint. How are we going to find out what's in his head when his head has been splattered open? I don't know. Collect the pieces, just like Mrs. Kennedy, I guess. Too soon for the RFK assassination joke?
Well, maybe actually. No, I'm just looking at the flame war over Full Metal Jacket. Ice Cube Soup is very upset.
Are you in the chat room? Everyone was complaining that you weren't in there.
I'm observing.
Oh, through the stream.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, It's religion, politics, and cinema. Those are the topics
cinema. I love arguing about cinema. The last wedding I went to, the guy I talked to the most, we talked about cinema. He encouraged me to watch The Lighthouse, and I have not yet.
Oh, it's pretty much Willem Dafoe farting for 2 hours.
Cinema.
I said that to a friend. He thought I was kidding, and he's like, "Holy smokes! How many times does Willem Dafoe fart in that movie?" It's true. It is true. But yes, cinema indeed.
I have another clip here, and this is the Paul Morrow and the Fox News host talking about the homeless witness. Are you familiar with what happened with this homeless guy?
Yeah, vaguely. I've heard this. I've heard the stories about him.
Okay, well, yeah, he basically got suspicious when the shooter was casing the joint and confronted him about what he was doing around the place. And this homeless guy was living in the Brown University basement.
Conveniently.
Yeah. When liberalism works.
Right.
Yeah, he got curious about this guy, confronted him, took note of his license plate, and called the cops and was like, hey, I think you should really... Actually, he posted on Reddit first and then called the cops with the license plate info, and that's how they tracked the car to the safe house. I mean, storage unit.
Storage unit, yep. Homeless guy witness.
Yeah, really weird pattern here. You talk about the guy in the basement. This is about an interview. The Wall Street Journal has a quote from the tipster, quote, John asked the suspect, your car is back there. Why are you circling the block? The suspect responded, I don't know you from nobody. Then the suspect repeatedly asked, why are you harassing me? The police affidavit said. I mean, that's some pretty dogged reporting by the guy who was living in the building. If not for him, do you think that this would still be unsolved?
No, I think they would have gotten him, but they were fortunate that you had this homeless person. Homeless people, when it comes to wherever they're living, can be very proprietary, even if it's a cardboard box on the sidewalk. So the fact that this guy came into this building and was wandering around, apparently for 2 weeks, came to the attention of this homeless guy. I'm not surprised, actually, that he kind of followed him and said, who is this guy? Why is he coming into my domain? I'm the one who lives in the basement here. Who's this new face? He was used to seeing students, people of a certain age, and here is this anomaly. And I assume he tried to talk to him at some point, and obviously the perpetrator wanted no part of him. But you do have to say he was remarkably observant. He followed him all the way to the car. And when he finally did get to the police, it's unfortunate he delayed as long as he did. But when he finally got to the police, he knew the fact that the car had Florida plates, might be a rent-a-car, and he knew the make and model. And that advanced things significantly. There's no denying that.
Yeah, the homeless guy in the basement, that's part of the cover-up, for sure.
Well, it was just Joe Biden in the basement. But, yeah, the homeless guy posted on Reddit because everyone is so social media brained. That was the first thing he thought to do. And yes, he was homeless and has a cell phone. Most all homeless people have cell phones. There are basically grants that they can get to get a cell phone. It's very common. I've spoken to several in my time on this earth.
Did you speak to him on the phone?
What?
On the phone?
No, I lived in Denver, Colorado, and have a penchant for talking to people.
Yeah, I remember when I visited Denver, and I don't want to talk shit on Denver, but we rented an Airbnb for a bachelor party, and I think we took bird scooters one night somewhere, and just the amount of people that were covered in tarps and like nodding off on the corners.
Yeah,
that's intense, man. That's a different level of stuff. Like I don't see that here in St. Louis. You see crackheads, but the amount of people just nodding off that looked like they, walked out of a head shop, or were going to go home to their parents for Sunday dinner. Just to look at them, you're like, wow, it's really sad.
Yeah, but most of them, I shouldn't say most. Most of the ones that will talk to you anyway are basically modern day tramps. They love the life they live. They don't want to have responsibilities. They want to be on the street. They want to be able to casually do whatever drugs come through their city, and they're fine. You know, they may get to be really bad off, especially in their older age, but generally the ones that I would talk to were pretty comfortable with where they were in life. It was a choice they had made. Now, you would every now and then get the ones that had really fallen on hard times, but they weren't as likely to be out kind of bouncing around town. They were more likely to be at your shelter or be trying to do something to make some money. Where your your homeless drifter is just a different breed altogether.
You seen these videos? I think I've talked about them before, but these people that like ride trains across the country.
Yes,
I really want to do that. I'm not talking about hopping on an Amtrak. I'm talking about camping out in a train yard and hopping on a coal train and riding it illegally from like Chicago to California.
There are officers on some of those trains that will actually mess you up if they catch you, though.
Yeah. I can imagine. There's a guy called Shy on YouTube. I think I've talked about him before. I think he's like Romanian or something, but he rides trains all over Europe. And he makes like the coolest videos ever. He breaks into like abandoned Soviet nuclear sites and whatnot. And it's amazing. I'm like, this kid, people talk about content creation. That's actually stuff you want to watch, you know? I don't really care about how to properly.
I think you would classify people who train hop as a type of hobo, not a homeless person or a vagrant necessarily.
A hobo? And the hobo is the handkerchief on the stick.
Yeah, Eric Pepe refers to them as hobos there in the chat. I think that's correct. And there used to be, you can watch some really interesting videos from the Great Depression era about the hobo's code and the hobo culture that developed in America around that time. And it's really fascinating stuff.
Hobo culture, who knew? You're on the MMO show. Cool. All right. What else we got? I don't have anything. I guess I have one thing that's local and domestic, but it's more so local but also international at the same time.
I think you call that global.
Well, it's based in the United States, but it affects the world.
Well, stop teasing us and give it to us.
All right. Let me see. Here we go. There's so many folders tonight, it's like impossible to find what we're looking for. Yes.
Sorry.
This has to do with the recalling of ambassadors from different countries back to the U.S.
Shifting our focus to United States now, where the Trump administration is recalling close to 30 career diplomats from ambassadorial and senior embassy roles. This is part of a broader effort to realign U.S. diplomacy overseas with President Donald Trump's America First agenda. Now, according to the U.S. State Department, chiefs of mission in at least 29 countries were notified last week that their assignments will conclude in January. The diplomats who spoke anonymously about this internal decision said Biden-era diplomats have been impacted the most. They had initially remained in place after Trump began his second term, when early personnel changes focused largely on political appointees. Although American ambassadors serve at the discretion of the president, they generally hold their posts for 3 to 4 years. U.S. officials emphasize that the recalled diplomats are not being removed from the Foreign Service and may return to Washington for new roles if they choose to.
You're getting demoted.
The U.S. State Department declined to provide specific figures or identify individual ambassadors, but defended the recalls as routine. In a statement, it said any administration has the right to ensure its envoys support its foreign policy priorities. Africa has been the most heavily impacted region, with ambassadors being recalled from 13 countries.
13 of the 30 ambassadors were in Africa.
This includes Nigeria, Senegal, Somalia, Uganda,
That's
Rwanda,
a shifting
and
strategy.
Yeah, indeed.
Let me ask you to look again at a map.
So I'm going to back it up so we can hear those country names again and look at a map while we do that.
This includes Nigeria, Senegal, Somalia, Uganda, Rwanda, and Niger, among others. The Asia-Pacific region is next, with 6 countries being affected. They are Fiji, Laos, the Marshall Islands, Papua New Guinea, the Philippines, and Vietnam. 4 European nations of Armenia, North Macedonia, Montenegro, and Slovakia are also included in the list. U.S. ambassadors have been recalled from Algeria and Egypt, Nepal and Sri Lanka in South Asia, and Guatemala and Suriname in the Western Hemisphere.
So, as we've been talking about, Africa is the undecided sphere of influence where we're kind of shadow warfare fighting, and Eric Prince is talking about all of the opportunities, a.k.a. all of the people that we can supply and kill in Africa, while indirectly fighting the Wagner Group, a lot of Russian assets, specifically in the Sahel region. And we have all of these ambassadors from Nigeria, Niger, Rwanda, the DRC, all of them getting recalled, yes, to realign with this current administration's, tact as to what it wants to do, as well as South American ambassadors, too, have been recalled. Suriname, that's close to Venezuela. Guyana apparently was fine. They didn't recall them, but it's just interesting. And then in Europe, you have Romania, Slovakia, and Armenia, which are all part of that Trump corridor, trade corridor.
Yeah, the troublesome Balkans.
Right. So it's like, holy smokes. So we're going full bore on this. We're going to take over Venezuela campaign, I think, pretty much secure our southern hemisphere. And so on top of that, this news this week, Trump appointed a special envoy over Greenland. So I'll add that
Jeff
to the mix.
Landry.
Yeah, Jeff Landry, isn't he of like Louisiana or something?
Yes, governor of Louisiana. He's a liar.
Okay, I'll let you explain after the clip.
Denmark expects all nations, including the United States, to respect its territorial sovereignty, Foreign Minister Lars Løkke Rasmussen said on Monday. This comes after U.S. President Donald Trump appointed Louisiana Governor Jeff Landry as a special envoy to bring Greenland under Washington's control on Sunday. Danish media reported that Rasmussen later said he would summon Kenneth Howry, the U.S. ambassador in Copenhagen, for a meeting at the ministry. Trump has repeatedly called for U.S. jurisdiction over Greenland and has infamously not ruled out using military force to seize it.
Yeah, the military force thing's hilarious because we're not going to do that. But
we don't have to.
Ooh, you just got crispy. I'll mark it.
Okay, how's that?
Much better.
Can you play the last? You said the military force thing is hilarious, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, put a marker down right here, and this will be where we start.
Okay.
Yeah, the military force thing is laughable, and even the talking heads you hear discussing this, none of them will go as far to say, yeah, this is a real concern that the U.S. is going to attack Greenland and take it from Denmark.
Trump's unhinged. He's the next Hitler.
Yes.
I mean, so we've got bases in Greenland, all over Greenland. It is absolutely the top of the world. And so a great strategic position to place and launch ICBMs from, if you can keep them warm enough. But it is, I think it is part of the grander strategy. You know, Venezuela, I'm convinced that the drug boats were just kind of the foot in the door. We don't really care about drug boats from Venezuela. And now we're seeing, the next phase of that, which we can get into in a little bit. But I think an extension of that is Greenland.
The tanker wars.
The tanker wars. An extent of that is Greenland, in that you need Greenland. It's the top of the map. It's part of the Western Hemisphere. It's also part of the Eastern Hemisphere if you draw a line between Africa and South America. But it is a strategic advantage. It's huge. And I think that is pretty much the main focus. And you can't really go there. What are they hiding there? Or is it Antarctica you can't go to? What are they hiding there?
Yeah, it's Antarctica. You cannot go to Antarctica.
Why?
It's evil.
Apparently. Anyway.
Yeah, that's what Buzz Aldrin said. Was it Buzz Aldrin? Is that the right astronaut?
Yeah, he's the guy.
I almost said Buzz Lightyear.
Got a little. Buzz Aldrin probably revealing some truths, but yeah, he got a little nutty towards the end of his life.
Well, he's still alive.
Is he?
So you don't know that it's toward his. I think so.
Oh,
pretty sure he is.
Yeah, he started leaking truths, saying, "Yeah, they don't want you to know about stuff." The moon landing was definitely real. If that moon was located in California,
we needed more cheese.
That's right. There's a Whitest Kids You Know skit where he's like teaching these kids about these conspiracies, and he shows Neil Armstrong getting out of the spacecraft. He's like, "All right, now let me ask you a question. Neil Armstrong, first man on the moon. Who's holding that camera?" The kids' heads are like, "Oh my god." Turns out there was a camera mounted on the outside of the spacecraft, according to NASA. So,
conveniently.
Yeah, I've been getting hit this week. People were talking about these nuclear recordings when we were like dropping these nukes towards the end of World War II and testing them, and like the footage that was released. And they were showing these like houses that were then all of a sudden like gone because of the nuke. And the guy was pointing out like, "Oh, see how this car is not here in this frame and then just magically appears in this frame?" It's like everything's fake. I'm convinced of it.
A lot of people believe that everything, in fact, is fake. Which brings us to the Epstein files.
Oh, boy.
No, I don't have anything on the Epstein files.
Perfect. Nor do I.
Basically, what I've seen is there's a lot to go through. Some of the files were improperly redacted so that you can actually copy and paste the text and get around the redactions, which could have been on purpose, could have been a complete incompetence.
Yeah, 7D chess.
Right, we'll never know. And also, a lot of anti-Trump people are pointing to an FBI tip that was in the files, and it's a tip from a guy who was a limo driver saying that Donald Trump said that, or some woman said that Donald Trump and Epstein had raped her, and they're pointing to this and mouth agape, saying smoking gun, but in the same files, the same FBI tipster said that he knew who had done the Oklahoma City bombing, and it was, I think he said, one of Hillary Clinton's former bodyguards had done the Oklahoma City bombing. So, not really the best, the most trustworthy source for a tipster. And you never really want to put too much credence into I don't know if unsolicited tip would be the best way to explain it. Most unsolicited tips are very bad, but with an FBI unsolicited tip, you really don't want to let your whole case against someone rest on that. And that seems to be the major thing that the anti-Trump camp is pointing to, along with the letter, and there's a whole question of why this letter was written. There's also a letter written as if it was from Jeffrey Epstein to Larry Nassar, where it says, "Our president has the same interests as you, young girls. Like, okay. But the problem is that the postage is wrong for it to have been from Jeffrey Epstein in his cell to Larry Nassar, and the date is a couple days after Jeffrey Epstein had already killed himself. So there's a lot of misdirection, to be quite frank about it. And whether it was placed into the Epstein investigation purposefully by the last administration and the last FBI, that was a possibility that we had talked about here, was that if there was damning evidence against Trump in the Epstein files, why didn't Biden release some of it? And if he wasn't going to release some of it, what were they doing in the file to give it a poison pill so that when Trump got into office, he couldn't release it? Well, it seems like that some of that could have been happening with the FBI tip and the letter supposedly from Jeffrey Epstein that outright says, "Our president likes young girls." So I don't know. It's a lot of misdirection, and anytime there's as much misdirection as you're seeing in something like this, you really have to be diligent about what you believe, what you're looking at, who's showing you what you're looking at, and going back and looking at the source and seeing, well, does this line up? Does it make sense? What is it that I'm looking at? I know what someone has told me this is, but what actually is it? You need to decide for yourself what you're looking at, not just trust what someone else tells you something is.
Right. The whole thing's been queered. I am convinced of it. It's going to be like the moon landing. It's going to be like 9/11, where the real truth is going to be mixed in with a bunch of fake stuff. Like when aliens came out, Nixon is oftentimes credited with inventing aliens, pretty much. And there's a belief that to cover what they were doing at Area 51, they started fake rumors about aliens. And so I think you get a lot of that going on in the Epstein files.
Yeah,
too.
it's the same concept as it's poisoning the well.
Yeah. You
know,
say, well, you can't trust anything in the Epstein files now.
Right.
So, and that's the point of like that letter where the postage is wrong, that kind of stuff.
And what seems to be the factual basis underlying it all is that Epstein was protected by agencies to provide monetary services, like to transfer monetary sums in dealings similar to things like Iran-Contra. And that would have been about the time he was getting started in that world. But you need people to move your money for you when you're doing things like that. And if you think things like that stopped with Iran-Contra because of how that got blown up and revealed, you're sadly mistaken.
Yeah.
And you would have needed people, many more people than Jeffrey Epstein, I'll say, to carry out these operations. You need people on the inside at Bear Stearns and firms like that to do the financial, the things that would be illegal if you weren't doing it for a state.
Right. Yeah, it ended with Iran-Contra. You ever hear of a little terrorist group called ISIS?
Yeah.
Where did they come from? Right. That's insane. Well, I'm glad.
And the truth of the matter is that Jeffrey Epstein probably has his fingerprints on a lot of the money that went to the initial groups when those groups were transforming from basically the Mujahideen into Al-Qaeda and ISIS.
Lord of War. You ever see the movie Lord of War?
Yes.
A great movie, by the way. If you haven't watched it, Nicolas Cage, probably the best Nicolas Cage movie. Eat crap, National Treasure fans. The best one. But I get the vibe that Jeffrey Epstein was a little bit like that. Not so much weapons, but dealt in information, weaponized information, and kind of slept with everybody, more or less. He became indisposable until he was no longer disposable.
From what we know about his dealings with Faroud Barak, I think was the Israeli prime minister's name, I think he primarily was working in the interest of Israel. I think he probably, as you said, worked with many agencies, but the overarching agenda would have been, as long as this isn't against the interest of Israel, I'm in. And I'm going to make some money while we do it.
It was the Achus. Nice. I'm with you. I'm glad we didn't spend a whole lot of time on the Epstein thing.
No,
because it's just
there's nothing worth spending a lot of time on.
No, it's all speculation. It's what everyone else is doing,
and it's basically what we just drilled down to is what we already knew. He's working for intelligence agencies. Was there some blackmail? Maybe, but primarily he's working for intelligence agencies.
Right. The only thing that I know for certain is what people have been shouting for 10 years. Maybe less than 10 years. 8 years. Jeffrey Epstein didn't kill himself. That's it.
All right. Well, let's move on if we're going to move on then.
Sure. Let's talk about these tanker wars that you were talking about earlier.
Okay. I have a Washington Examiner clip to start us off called Third Tanker. Can you find it?
Yeah, sorry, I had a career-ending sneeze. I had to hit the mute button.
That's what you get for calling them the Achus.
The Achus. Very well. I've been struck again.
The Coast Guard is pursuing a third oil tanker off Venezuela's coast as part of the new blockade against Nicolas Maduro. According to a U.S. official, they're chasing a sanctioned vessel in the dark fleet that's flying a false flag under a judicial seizure order. This comes less than 24 hours after Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem announced the seizure of a second tanker in the Caribbean. The first one, named Skipper, was seized on December 10th with illicit oil near Venezuelan waters. Saturday's grab targeted the Centuries, and now it's Bella 1 in their sights. These moves are escalating President Donald Trump's pressure campaign on Maduro. Trump declared a total blockade on all ships hauling sanctioned oil in and out of Venezuela, calling the regime a foreign terrorist organization. He says they're using stolen oil to fund drug terrorism, human trafficking, murder, and kidnapping.
There it is.
Before this,
That's
the administration
the
stuck to strikes on drug-running boats and sanctions on Maduro's allies. In response, the Kremlin's warning against U.S. intervention, saying it could lead to unpredictable consequences for the whole Western Hemisphere.
Yeah, they're not running drugs on those oil boats. They're running oil, but the drugs...
Right.
The
yeah,
drugs
well, they
were
might
the
as
foot
well
in the
be
door.
drugs.
Pretty much. The drugs were the foot in the... I think this was the plan the entire time. Why we've put our Navy down there was to seize oil tankers. Now, the unsophisticated take that you'll get on MSNBC and CNN is Bush 2.0.
MSNOW, please.
Media source no one watches. That's right. Take they're starting a new oil war. This is all about oil. No. This is about regime change, and the way that he's doing it is pretty much cutting off Maduro's head, which is through his economics. So Venezuela does nothing but has nationalized oil. And
Okay, all right. But I have I want you to dig deeper. And we actually just got a donation note about this very thing. It was very interesting timing. Chucky Chuckles will be reading a note from him later that will reiterate what I'm about to present here from a Fox News contributor.
Okay.
And I cannot believe I hadn't seen this before. I hadn't thought of this before I saw this, because we've known the country that little Marco is infatuated with is not Venezuela. Venezuela is just a domino.
No. Yes. I think I know the country.
Its Coast Guard seizing a second oil tanker off the Venezuelan coast and now is hunting a third, U.S. officials say. Now, joining us now for reaction to this is American Majority CEO Ned Ryan. So, Ned, oil prices rose on the news that that second tanker was intercepted. We're not talking about a lot of oil supply coming out of Venezuela. What warranted that price increase?
Well, it does have a ripple effect. I would say it doesn't seem like much, Edward, but for some places like Cuba, devastating. Existential crisis. I mean, Cuba, if Venezuela's oil, about 70% of it's embargoed, and these oil tankers are trying to get to Cuba. About 40% of Cuba's energy comes from Venezuela. They're in the toughest economic crisis they've had since Castro took power in 1959. If they lose 40% of their power, energy from Venezuela imports, I mean, it might even bring down the Cuban regime. So there's a whole host of domino effects from seizing these tankers. And then it leads into, what do Russia and China do after this in regards to propping up Cuba if they're even able to do that? So there's a whole host of issues from seizing these tankers that people need to understand.
China and Russia back off because they realize the new plan here, which is you guys enjoy your backyard and we'll enjoy our backyard and leave us alone.
Everybody's a NIMBY.
Yeah. Well, everyone is. Sort of. Everyone is like, I'm going to do various military activities in my backyard. So,
yeah,
sorry, Karen.
And you can't.
Exactly. It's our backyard. You're not the one that's getting up every Saturday morning and cutting it. That's us.
Yeah. Okay. Now, the next piece of this, and if you have anything more specific about the tankers or the actual seizures, now is the time to play them. I do think it's interesting that if you, and I should have paid more attention to my third tanker clip from the Washington Examiner. I'm pretty sure, and actually I want to play it again because I'm pretty sure there's some language in here that was interesting that we missed. So indulge me if you don't mind.
Sure.
Play that third tanker clip one more time.
Gotcha.
Pursuing a third oil tanker off Venezuela's coast as part of the new blockade against Nicolas Maduro. According to a U.S. official, they're chasing a sanctioned vessel in the dark fleet that's flying a false flag under a judicial seizure order. This comes less than 24 hours.
False flag?
It's flying a false flag.
Which is funny, because
it is funny.
It's a double entendre, if you will.
Under a judicial seizure order.
Yeah.
The name of the vessel is Bella, which in Latin can mean war.
Ciao bella. I thought it meant beautiful.
It can mean beautiful. It can also mean war.
Oh, jeez. Latin's messed up, man.
Bellum is the plural of war. Bella is war, and in the sense of antebellum,
anti-war,
like pre-war.
Oh, pre-war, antipasta.
Yeah,
I'm trying to get there through my
pre-pasta.
understanding of Italian. All right, antipasta is an appetizer. Yeah, so before the pasta. Exactly.
Yeah.
So antebellum is pre-war.
Yeah.
Oh, so that's what Lady Antebellum. It's the pre-war era.
Yes.
The pre-war South.
Right.
That's kind of
racist.
racist.
I love, and maybe this is just me indulging my schizophrenia, but I love that we get the language that the ship is being seized for flying a false flag, and the name of the ship is Bella.
We seized the ship War on the pretense of a false flag.
Yes.
Wow. The world is beautiful.
It really is. And this plays into the overarching theory of global Satanism that they actually have to tell you what they're doing. You're familiar with this?
Right. I am.
Yeah. We'll see. If a seizure is attempted on the ship Bella and a couple of U.S. Navy helicopters end up in the sea and a few operators end up on the deck, and the next thing you know, we're in a full-fledged invasion of Venezuela and maybe another country that was assisting in protecting that ship, we might have to gloat a little bit while we mourn the beginning of a particularly vicious war. What would probably be a particularly vicious war?
Man. Did you imagine Cuba being the 51st state? That'd be great.
I don't know. I flew over Cuba recently, and it was maybe they were trying to save their oil, but there were only a few lights at night.
But everyone can read, John. It's a success.
Oh.
That's always
Just
the argument. Do you know the literacy rate of Cuba is 90%? It's like, great.
Wow, boy, buddy.
Do you know what the amount that's able to eat dinner is?
Less.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yes.
In large part to our policy towards Cuba, but still.
I know. Yes, I'm aware, and we should definitely point that out. And that is, that's the dishonesty of the reports you'll hear against Cuba from the hemispheric war hawks is, well, look at how poor and destitute they are. And Marco Rubio is the foremost to posit these talking points. But it is because we have embargoed Cuba for so long. I mean, it would be a miracle if they were economically successful.
Yeah. Man. Yeah.
The communism doesn't help, but.
Yes, but, when the largest economic power that's literally in your backyard says, we're not going to play ball with you, and your closest friend is now Mexico or Venezuela, you're in trouble.
Yeah. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. So the next clip I have in this sequence is a discussion about the Republican split, and this is going to discuss the talking points from Rand Paul versus Lindsey Graham. Now, I do want to point out Lindsey Graham, the clip from Lindsey Graham that they play has a bottom third, and I thought it was funny. It's, I notice these kind of things, and maybe I should stop noticing, but Lindsey Graham was joining whatever program he was a guest on from Tel Aviv.
Your days are numbered, buddy. Zinwar.
I'm going to get back into that in a second. There's a pushback against the president's actions on Venezuela. Here's what Republican Senator Rand Paul said. Listen to this.
I consider it a provocation and a prelude to war, and I hope we don't go to war with Venezuela. Look, at any point in time, there are 20, 30 governments around the world that we don't like that are either socialist or communist or have human rights violations. We could really literally go through a couple dozen, but it isn't the job of the American soldier to be the policeman of the world.
But Republican Senator Lindsey Graham seems to be on board with this. Listen to this.
President Trump promised to secure our nation from the scourge of narco drug trafficking. The kingpin in our backyard.
Narco drugs.
Which we've already established is the false flag here.
Yes, I love narco drug trafficking.
Yeah. So,
not pharmaceutical drug trafficking, narco drug trafficking.
Yeah, well, the pharmaceuticals, those are the good guys. Brought to you by
narco
Pfizer.
Drugs. That's right.
I would love to see the commercial break after the segment.
The kingpin in our backyard is Maduro in Venezuela. They're poisoning America. I applaud President Trump of trying to bring down this narco-terrorist state in Venezuela run by Maduro. They're bad news. Maduro's days are numbered.
So what do you think?
It's the same thing he said about Zinwar, Yahya Zinwar. Your days are numbered, buddy. I remember that clip.
Is this a way to get Maduro out without putting American troops in harm's way?
Absolutely. I mean, first of all, there's two things that are funding the Venezuelan regime, Maduro's regime. It's obviously exporting oil and obviously the narcotics. So if we start to squeeze him on both fronts, I think his days are numbered in Venezuela. So I find it kind of an ignorant statement by Rand Paul. I actually applaud, and I consider myself firmly in the America First approach to foreign policy. I applaud the Trump administration for what they're doing with Venezuela. It is a resurrection of the Monroe Doctrine, in which we are to control the Western Hemisphere, not allow Russia or China or anybody else to have undue influence in our hemisphere. So I think this is the right approach.
Okay, I have a gripe.
Is it about the Monroe Doctrine?
No one knows what the Monroe Doctrine is anymore.
How did I know?
Sit down, kids. Let me teach you something. The Monroe Doctrine, largely championed by the namesake, James Monroe, Jim to his friends. The Monroe Doctrine... The Monroe Doctrine was about securing the right of self-determination for nations in the Western Hemisphere. It was not about securing control over those nations by the United States. Now, the next president who actually wrote the Monroe Doctrine in its tame form for James Monroe, who was Martin Van Buren, took it a little further and started exercising some control over nations in which we had some play. But the Monroe Doctrine idea was that the great United States is a champion of self-determination, and all nations in our hemisphere should have the same right without interference. Do you know what regime change is? It's interference and self-determination.
Yeah. The Monroe Doctrine was to beat back Europe from the area.
Yes,
is the verbiage, but it does not say.
It was to garner goodwill with our neighbor nations and to try to let them take the same self-determining path that the United States had forged for itself.
Well, that's not working.
Could you say it was idealistically faulted? Too idealistic? You could argue that, but that's what it was. It wasn't, look at us, look at our ships, look at our helicopters. Now try that in our backyard, buddy. It was, you have a right to self-determination. We aren't going to let European nations, in the modern context, you can read that as China and Russia, we aren't going to let them interfere in your politics. We're not going to interfere in your politics. We're going to do our best to protect your right to self-determination. That is Monroe Doctrine. For this Ned Butts or Ned Doofus, whatever his name is, CEO of some stupid made-up company, for him to say it's a resurrection of Monroe Doctrine. I'm on Fox News. Look at me. Look at my chin. He's an idiot. He doesn't know what he's talking about. He's stupid, and he will never know just how dumb this sounds.
Oh, well, usually you're a little bit more fired up than that, but it's Christmas, so we'll let you give that half-hearted response there.
It's so frustrating because you want people to look back at American history and be inspired by it and to say, you know what, that is something to be proud of. That is something to try to get back to, that level of statesmanship, that level of integrity in foreign policy. And then you have Ned, whatever his name is, Ned Buttchin on Fox News. And you have him saying, oh, this is going back. Look at me. I know my history. Yes, sir. I'm a CEO of a company that I made up after I did some time at Fox News. I know what I'm talking about. It's very, very frustrating.
That's how you sell it. That's how you package it.
You talk out of your ass.
I venture to guess what percentage of Americans know and understand the Monroe Doctrine. I would say
more now.
Less than 5. So, very well. Okay. What else you got on this?
It's tangential, but we have an announcement from Donald Trump. And it's, I guess tangential is the right word. We're going to start building some big, beautiful ships.
Ooh. I heard about it.
As Commander-in-Chief, it's my great honor to announce that I have approved a plan for the Navy to begin the construction of 2 brand new, very large, the largest we've ever built, battleships. You know, you used to build the Iowa, the Missouri, the Wisconsin, the Alabama, many others. We had big battleships. These are bigger, but they will have 100 times they'll be 100 times the force, the power, and there's never been anything like these ships. These have been under design consideration for a long time, and it started with me in my first term, because I said, why aren't we doing battleships like we used to? And these are the best in the world. They'll be the fastest, the biggest, and by far 100 times more powerful than any battleship ever built. So if you look at the Iowa, the Missouri, Wisconsin, Alabama, and others, but they were similar in size, some a little bit bigger than the others. But if you take the biggest one, it's 100 times more powerful. They're longer by a little bit, but and they're bigger. They're bigger ships, but they hold much more.
Ooh, really?
They use the word lethality. Battleships are the largest, sturdiest, and most heavily armed vessel built specifically for naval combat. While America has built many new warships over the years, they've tended to be smaller, much smaller, and not conducive to where we are and where we're going, and peace through strength. But including, we've been building aircraft carriers. We're going to be upping that also. We're going to be going to a superior aircraft. We have the Ford class. We're going to be upping that to a different class of aircraft carrier.
They're big ships. Their ships are very big. Bigger than ever.
That's basically all that was in that clip.
Good luck turning it around between Florida and Cuba. That's how big it is.
Yes, exactly. It will span the 90 miles between the what do you call it? The Strait of Florida? Is that what that's called? I don't know what it's called. Anyway, yes, you said it first. But in this clip, if you look, and this is in the show notes, this video is in the show notes. It's very short. You can go to it. When Trump says these ships have been in design for a long time, and it started in my first term when I said, why aren't we building battleships the way we used to? Pete Hegseth cannot contain himself. His body language tells me that's a load of crap. He took it to the president and said, Donald, I think what would really make a lasting legacy for you in the U.S. Navy would be to build these big, beautiful battleships. And when Trump says that it was his idea all along, you can see Pete Hegseth's face. Actually, since you're on the video stream, if you want to look at this, I think it's actually worth watching and observing his body language. But you don't have the link to the video, do you?
What do you mean?
To the video I played. I'm going to give it to you.
Big, beautiful ships.
Yeah. I'm going to send you this. But the point is that I think Trump is just talking, and Hegseth is pretty proud of this idea, and it was his idea to do the Trump-class battleship. And when Trump takes credit for it, I think it irks Hegseth. And I think you can tell. And I'm going to send you... can I send it on Signal? Do you have access to Signal on your computer?
I don't have it open. If you... This way, you should be in the room. The chat room. The big, beautiful ships.
I'm not in the chat room.
Trump class.
Yeah, they're the Trump class.
I love the Trump class photo of it.
Mm-hmm.
USS Defiant.
The USS Defiant, is that?
That's what they have, like the poster card. I don't know why, but the White House, or I guess this looks like Mar-a-Lago with the amount of marble and
I think it was from
gaudy
Mar-a-Lago.
gold shit in the background.
The gilded stuff.
Yeah. They have poster board as opposed to a TV. Man, you know for a fact that that's going to get put in a frame and probably hung up on the wall in Mar-a-Lago. The Defiant Class. Yeah, you should be in the big, beautiful chat room, is what everyone is saying.
The big, beautiful chat room.
Did you just send me an email?
I did. I sent it to you in an email.
Perfect. Getting it open.
Carrier pigeon.
Now. Yeah, my email's slow whenever we do the show. It's just a product of internets and whatnot. Here it is.
So it's pretty early on. You can just play it from the beginning and watch Hegseth. If you've got it.
I got it.
Okay.
It's loading.
Oh. Yeah, I'm sure everything is slow while you're doing the show.
You want to bring the audio in?
Well, of course.
We used to build the Iowa, the Missouri, the Wisconsin, the Alabama, many others. We had big battleships. These are bigger, but they will have 100 times the, they'll be 100 times the force, the power, and there's never been anything like these
You
ships.
see
These
him
have
roll
been
his
under
eyes.
Yeah.
Design consideration for a long time. And it started with me in my first term, because I said, why aren't we doing battleships like we used to? And these are the best in the world. They'll be the fastest, the biggest, and by far 100 times more powerful than any
Okay,
battleship
that
ever
was
built. So
what I saw was essentially when he unclasps his hands, grabs his jacket, and puts his hands by his side. He's basically defeated that his idea. He didn't get credit for his idea, and Trump said it was my idea all along.
Yeah. What, he's going to turn around and say, Pete gave me this idea?
Right?
Pete?
No, not going to happen.
Right. It's funny. It's, yeah. It looks like everyone's there like, why are we here on, this close to Christmas in Florida? I should be home with my family.
It's Festivus.
We got to hear about the big, beautiful ships. I got to sneeze. Oh, my gosh.
Did you hear about the privateers bill?
No.
There was a bill submitted in, I think, the Senate to reinstate privateers. It's Mike Lee, Representative or Senator Mike Lee from Utah. You know, the guy who wanted to do the land seizures, the land sales to private developers. He's submitted a bill now called Patriots of the Caribbean. And it's to authorize American privateers to seize cartel assets.
Patriots of the Caribbean is a phenomenal title, and good job
I know.
whoever came up with that.
It really is. It's so good.
So effectively, private citizens or people like Eric Prince and military groups would be going out and seizing cartel boats.
Yes.
That would be sick. I want to get a privateer license so I can. I don't want to go, but I want the optionality to be able to go to the Caribbean and shoot.
What you want to do is
boats.
you want to get your letter of marque, which is basically your warrant, and you just want to frame it and keep it.
Yeah. Yeah, if I want to, I can head on down there and shoot people. That'd be pretty cool.
Exactly. Now, you still get held to pretty high standards, and I think there would probably be a vetting process, but I would think just to have one of the authorizations would be phenomenal.
It looks like there's a gun in his hand. Let's engage. Turns out it was a burrito.
Yeah.
Yeah.
File the report.
That was a parasailing tourist excursion boat off the coast of Cancun that you killed. So we're going to have to recall you back to the States there, buddy.
Can you put a marker down? I need to take a little break for a second.
Okay. Taking a
Can
break.
you filibuster? Are you
Sure.
up to it?
Yeah, I can
All right, I'll be right
filibuster.
back.
It is the Christmas season. Now, you might be saying, what can I get my loved one? Right. What is a meaningful gift that I can get my loved one with such short time? Right. It's right before the holidays. Within the next 20 minutes, if you send us $500, you can buy your loved one a Praetorship, just out of the blue. And, it's the gift that keeps on giving. Take it from Weirdo. Take it from Hempress Emily M. Everywhere they go, people say, you're glowing, you're glowing, you're glowing. Now, Hempress thought it was because she was pregnant, right? But Weirdo is also getting this you're glowing comment. And it's because both Hempress and Weirdo are Praetors. And the Praetorship really it puts a little extra pep in your step. There's a famous movie actor by the name of Johnny Sins, and he privately has become a Praetor. He didn't want me to say his name out loud, but he confirmed I could say it was Johnny Sins because it turns out that's his stage name. He's a big fan of the show. And he said that after he, became a Praetor, he just got more and more enjoyment out of his work in these movies that he makes. So I highly recommend it. And, not only does the Praetorship benefit you and your loved one, it also benefits John and I here on The Offensive. So I would really, really recommend anyone purchase a Praetorship. Now you're saying, is $500 too much? You can't do it. Well, guess what? Here's the thing. John and I have been doing this for 4 years, right? We're going to have episode 200. It's the last show of the year next week, Tuesday. So we've been doing this for 4 years. There are effectively, now we usually have 2 weeks off somewhere in the season, there are effectively 50 weeks in a year. So if you are dedicated enough and decide 2026 is my year, I'm going to donate $10 every week. By the time 2027 rolls around, you will be a Praetor. Now you can also say, okay, I'm a Praetor already, but I have children that I would like to be a Praetor because, families that Praetor together are fun. That's what they say. Just for $10 a week, you can get that Praetorship for that individual. And it's just something to consider at the end of the day. I'm not sure what John G. Do went to do or how much time I have here, but I would also like to tell you about the company Palmetto State Armory. Now, this doesn't benefit John or I, but it is a great company. Now, Palmetto State Armory is oftentimes laughed at by serious gun people in the gun industry. However, the Palmetto State Armory has released what's called the Micro Dagger, which is a Glock 43X clone, and it is by far the best and highest quality gun that they have. Now, why would you get a Glock 43X clone, you say? And it is because of customizability. PSA has actually taken the Glock 43X and added improvements. One of them being the MOS cutout for a K footprint optic on the slide. If you were to get that gun from Glock, a Glock 43X with the MOS cutout on the slide, we're talking about $600-$700. However, if you purchase that same gun from Palmetto State Armory, you can get them from $300 to $350, which leaves plenty of additional money for you to buy an optic for it, swap out the trigger for it, put a nice grip on it, maybe a flashlight on it, and you have a 15+1 capacity in a pretty small Micro 9 package. It is probably one of the best concealed carry options on the market today. What we've really seen in 2024 and 2025 is that Micro 9 market really just opened up. Before you were carrying maybe a Smith & Wesson M&P Shield. That's got an 8+1 capacity. 8+1, I'll give you for instance, my fraternity brothers came into town for a college reunion, and we were getting out of a car, and it seemed like this other car of men were hopping out. There's 4 of them. Now, there's 4 of them that are hopping out, and if we were about to rumble, 4 guys, I had 8 rounds. I would have to be very consistent with my 9mm shots. With this clone here, this Glock 43X clone, the PSA Micro Dagger, I've got a 15 plus 1 capacity, and you know I keep one in the chamber. So that's 16 rounds. That means everybody's getting 4 shots. You just can't beat that optionality.
4 shots and you can't drive home.
4 shots and you can't even get in the car. Let me tell you that much.
Very good. Good job. I enjoyed both of those.
Good. Glad you listened.
I had a pack of coyotes at my door. They were begging me to come out and commune with them, and I saw right through it.
Which, the real coyotes or the people trafficking kind?
No. The real ones. Furry ones.
You know, I like, for a nice coyote gun, is a Ruger 1022. That'll put them down. If you really want to go the full mile, I would get a suppressed AR-15. But a Ruger 1022 will do the job.
A little bit of overkill for coyotes, but you get more range at least.
Right. I was turkey hunting in the Angeline Conservation Area in southeastern Missouri in the fall, which is a shit time to hunt turkeys, but you can. And I went, it's probably 2 hours from St. Louis, and I was hitting my turkey slate, and the only thing I called in was a coyote. And quite literally, I had a vermit tag, so I could have shot it. And I considered it, and as I raised my shotgun, I spooked it off. But as I was watching it run away, I was like, that is a dog. That's a dog. I don't want to kill that.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks for the pause. No pun intended. And if you will make sure we are duly marked, we can get back into this.
Confirmed.
And I think I waited until we were pretty much at the end of the privateer talk. So if you want to just pause for a second and then take us somewhere else, I think that would be appropriate.
Okay. Let's see what else we have. I don't have anything domestic here. So we can either thank some people or we could hop into some more geopolitical happenings. I know that was a good transition of Venezuela and whatnot happening in our own backyards. But I've got some.
Well, let's keep going.
Yeah?
Let's keep going. I'm still feeling good, but I don't feel like we need to take a break. I feel like we're rolling all right.
All right.
So I know you've got a lot of geopolitical stuff. I've got some things to add as well. So I'll let you start us off, and then I'll piggyback.
Okay. One thing that I didn't want to talk about this week was the Syria debacle. So we had a spring up of the Kurds, the SDF Kurds, and the Syrian National Army. If you recall, when al-Jilani / al-Shara rose to power, part of the agreement with Turkey, who funded the HTS, which was led by al-Jilani, was that they were going to pretty much merge the Kurdish SDF into the Syrian nationals and try to end this problem that Erdogan has had with the Kurds disrupting stuff in southeastern Turkey. So there is a dust-up this week between the SDF and the Syrian National, and I'll let...
Who could have seen that coming?
Exactly. Israel. So I'll let Al Jazeera kind of give us an intro to what's happening.
We begin the program with breaking news in Syria, where we're getting reports of violence between Syrian government forces and Kurdish-led Syrian Democratic Forces that control the country's northeast. Armed confrontations are being reported in Aleppo.
And Gary Johnson is very confused.
At least 2 civil defense crew members are injured, and dozens of families in the area are trying to flee to safety. Under an agreement signed in March between Syria's new government and the Kurdish-led forces, the SDF was meant to merge with the new Syrian army. But so far, that deal is yet to be implemented. Those clashes were reported hours after Syria's President Ahmed al-Shara held talks with Turkey's foreign minister and intelligence chief in Damascus. High on the agenda was the integration of Kurdish civil and military institutions into the Syrian state by the end of the year. Ankara views the Kurdish-led Syrian Democratic Forces as a threat to Turkey's national security. The Turkish foreign minister says so far the SDF has shown no real intention on making progress in the negotiations.
So it is Al Jazeera, so they have a Middle Eastern focus, but Ankara, for those that don't know, is the capital of Turkey, where Erdogan is situated. And, the Kurdish people really don't have their own country. It's kind of carved out between Turkey and Syria. Listeners of the show would know it's just kind of this regional area. But the SDF inside of Syria has some serious leverage against al-Jilani or the Syrian nationals who helped oust Assad. And that leverage is oil. And also the backing of the U.S., sort of. So there's a lot of interesting relations with the SDF, but I'll let Al Jazeera continue here.
All right, let's go now to Ayman Ogana, our correspondent who's live for us in Damascus. Ayman, just talk us through what's been happening in Aleppo. What's the latest we're hearing at this hour?
So clashes are currently ongoing. We've heard reports of gunfire and even shelling in Aleppo between Kurdish-led Syrian Democratic Forces, SDF, and government forces. The catalyst for the fighting was, as you mentioned, the high-level delegation that came to Damascus to discuss the thorny issue of integrating SDF fighters into Syrian government forces.
Ayman, has there been this level of fighting in Aleppo in the last year? Have we seen that? Or in this context, is this the worst that we've seen?
Come on, Ayman.
There has been fighting in Aleppo sporadically throughout the year. The last major clashes were in October. But what we're hearing now sounds like this could be likely the worst we've seen this year. And it comes at a very delicate time. The issue of integrating the SDF was supposed to come to a head and be finalized by the end of this year. But these clashes mean that perhaps that's not going to happen anytime soon. The SDF are in a position where they have some leverage against Damascus. They control Syria's oil reserves, their wheat reserves. They're in control of the ISIL prisons in Syria. And they also have a very close working relationship with the U.S. They have been the U.S. military's main stable partner in the fight against ISIL in Syria. So they're probably calculating what they have to lose by integrating and what they have to gain by remaining an armed faction.
And that's kind of the issue. So part of the agreement was that by the end of the year, the SDF would pretty much rid themselves of their arms and join the army and then get spread out throughout the country, as opposed to being concentrated in that region. That's what Turkey was really pushing for, and specifically probably one of the main reasons why they more or less bankrolled and aided al-Jilani in his quest for ousting Assad. So it's interesting because they've got control of the oil. They're strong allies of the U.S. in the region, and they're a thorn in al-Jilani / al-Shara's side, and it's pretty much exactly how Israel was planning or hoping that this would go from the past strategy that we've highlighted, where Israel really likes dealing with rump states or states that are divided culturally and hard for anyone to gain solid control or national identity over, which is Syria in a nutshell.
Well, I think the thing that a lot of people overlook, these lines, these competing interests are the same competing interests that Bashar al-Assad was having to juggle when he was president.
Right.
He was just juggling them with far less deference given to Israel. And now Israel basically controls southern Syria and have been somewhat satisfied in this arrangement, which is why they worked with Turkey and the U.S. to make this happen, to get al-Jilani, or not al-Jilani out, to get al-Jilani in and get Bashar al-Assad out. You also decrease the willingness of the leader of Syria to work with Russia. So you basically trade your deference from Russia to Israel, which of course is better for the U.S. and better for Israel. And Turkey, again, we've talked about Turkey in the past, how they're this they're always straddling the fence.
Right.
They're geographically positioned where they have to straddle the fence, and they seemingly do a very good job of it. And this is just more of that. Their position doesn't seem to have changed that much with the change in the president, even though the designs for the SDF to incorporate the Kurdish forces seems to be a Turkish proposal. It probably was a Turkish proposal to kind of get rid of some of the problems they have with the Kurdish forces, and that's just it's falling apart.
Right. And if you recall, that whole Trump economic corridor that's supposed to go through Turkey, Armenia, and Azerbaijan, thus avoiding the Black Sea to the north, was dependent on the SDF no longer being a functioning terrorist faction within Turkey, where they pretty much, the leader told everyone to fold, close up shop in the neighborhood after something like 50 years of being a constant thorn in the side of Turkey.
Right, and these people who are professional fighters at this point, you have to give them something to do, so you give them a job in the Syrian Defense Forces.
Right. And Turkey really wants them dispersed around Syria, so he doesn't want them to just be, change the flag that they're flying, the false flag that they're flying. They want them to kind of be intermixed within the Syrian government, and it really looks like that's not going to be the case, or at least it's not going to be easy to do right now.
Right.
So, yeah, but
I have a clip from Syria about some of the recent U.S. strikes in Syria after the 2 National Guardsmen were killed.
Okay.
A Syrian monitoring group says at least 5 members of the Islamic State group, including a cell leader, have been killed in a wave of U.S. strikes. President Trump said that they were retaliation for the killing of 3 Americans in Syria last week. More than 70 targets were hit, most of them in a mountainous area north of Palmyra. Aircraft from Jordan were also involved. Our correspondent Hugo Pachega is in Beirut and has been monitoring the situation. He gave us his assessment of the events.
President Trump has described it as a massive strike that he said had the full support of the Syrian government. And as you say, the U.S. military said that more than 70 targets linked to the Islamic State group were hit in central parts of Syria.
You believe that? The full support of the Syrian government? As if this guy's like a puppet or something.
Fighter jets, helicopters, and artillery. And I thought it was interesting that the U.S. Defense Secretary appeared to be trying to play down concerns that this could be the beginning of a war. He said this was in response to the attack that happened last week in Syria, an attack that killed 2 American soldiers and also an American civilian interpreter. But at the same time, he indicated that these attacks are likely to continue. And there have been reports in U.S. media saying that these attacks are going to continue for weeks. Now, this really shows you how fragile the security situation in Syria is. I was in Syria just weeks ago for the first anniversary of the fall of the Assad regime. Obviously, there were celebrations, but huge security challenges remain, including the threat coming from the Islamic State group. And there has been the concern that these people could try to take advantage of this transition in Syria to carry out attacks, to expand their operations. We've seen a rise in the number of attacks carried out by IS in recent weeks. And this has been a concern not only of the new Syrian authorities, but also of a number of countries, including the US. And the Americans still have a presence in Syria. They have 1,000 soldiers in the country, and their mission is precisely to counter any kind of resurgence by the Islamic State group in Syria. The key point here is that many believe that if there is, if this government in Syria fails, the alternative is chaos and even more violence. Syria remains extremely divided. The government in Damascus doesn't have control over the entire country. And obviously there is this significant threat coming from the Islamic State.
I could really do this guy's job if I would just do my reports while treading water.
It did sound that way. I imagine English is not his first language. And he sounded nervous.
Yeah, sweaty palms.
He was in Beirut.
So nervous for good reason.
Yeah, he just picked up a new pager, so he's like, oh, God.
Yeah, that's very good. Okay, well, since we're in that ballpark, I've got some clips about Russia and the war in Ukraine, if you want to move up that way.
Sure.
There was a Russian general killed in a bombing, and I've got a DW clip about it. Several DW clips.
Perfect.
We begin with some breaking news. Investigators in Moscow say that Russian Lieutenant General Fanil Sarvarov has been killed by a bomb detonated beneath his car. According to local media, the explosion occurred around 7 a.m. Moscow time on Monday morning. Russia's investigative committee said they are looking for a link to Ukrainian intelligence services. Ukraine claimed responsibility for the killing of a separate Russian general with a planted bomb just over a year ago. Let's take a listen to more of what that investigative committee had to say.
The investigation is working out various versions of the murder. One of them is that it was an assassination by Ukrainian special services. The investigation is being monitored by the investigative committee.
Well, for more, we're now bringing in our Riga Bureau Chief, Yuri Reshetto. Yuri, great to see you. So what do we know about Lieutenant General Fanil Sarvarov, who was reportedly killed in Moscow?
Well, Pablo, Lieutenant General Fanil Sarfarov used to run the operational training department for Russia's general staff, so a high-ranking general. He's seen plenty of action over the years, fighting in the clashes between Ossetia and Ingushetia, Russian republics in the North Caucasus, back in the early 90s through 2003. Then in the Chechen wars and later in Syria during the 2015-2016 campaign of the Russian army. According to Russian media, he also took part in the war in Ukraine.
Yeah, who this guy is, at least in my read of the scenario, you can address me or, challenge me if you think I'm wrong. I think this was just a guy that could reach, a Russian general, a symbolic, not even symbolic, but symbolic in that you're not even safe in Moscow. Kind of.
A relatively soft target.
Right. Yeah. This guy doesn't have the 24/7 security monitoring. We can get a bomb on his Kia. I thought that was interesting. He was driving a Kia. You usually see the weird Russian.
Oh, who's behind it? The Kia boys.
Right. The Kia. They reports have that the Ukrainians stuck a USB in his ignition and blew him up.
Yes.
So yeah, he dies. I don't really think it was specifically who he was, which is what they're trying to bark up on that DW report. More so, they could just get him, and they did.
Yeah.
Shake
So
the confidence.
Of course, DW is going to ask the burning question of who's behind it, even though I think it is pretty clear.
Right.
All right, Yuri, well, who could be behind this then?
Well, look, given the situation, it looks like the blast was no accident. Sarvarov's car blew up around 7 a.m. in a parking lot near an apartment building in Moscow. Russian Telegram channels say the explosion happened just after the driver got in and moved a few meters. The bomb was probably fixed under the car, and Russian media claim it was a magnetic mine. No one knows who did it yet. Investigators are looking at the different angles, but based on what we know so far, there are plenty of signs pointing probably to Ukrainian intelligence being involved.
Yuri.
Plenty of signs probably pointing to Ukraine. That's a weird way of putting it.
Is this calling into question the effectiveness of Russia's security services?
Well, this obviously shows that Russian generals and top military brass running the war against Ukraine are living at least in borrowed time, and Russia's security services cannot seem to keep them safe.
Yeah, that's the whole ball game there, is to rattle confidence.
Yeah, I mean it's tangential terrorism. It's tangential to the war, and it's Ukraine has from the the coordinated drone attack to several assassinations that have occurred in Russia. They're kind of known for this kind of thing at this point. And to that point, I have a clip called "Past Incidents."
Oh boy, ready to hear them.
This isn't the first time, Pablo, something like this has happened. Since the war began, there have been several bombings inside Russia aimed at military figures or, let's say, outspoken supporters, public supporters of the invasion. We remember in 2023, a war correspondent was killed in a cafe blast in St. Petersburg. Then in 2024, a year later, a car bomb in Moscow injured a general staff officer. Later that year, in December, Lieutenant General who commanded Russia's chemical, biological defense forces was also killed in the capital, in the Russian capital, Moscow. So if Ukrainian intelligence really is behind today's attack, the message to the Kremlin is loud and clear. Even if we can't win in Donbass right now, we'll make sure those responsible for this war pay the price.
Reading into terrorism. Very good.
Okay, I have two more clips about Russia and Ukraine. I think CNN has finally figured out how to get the U.S. and everyone on board with going to war with Russia. What?
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I do. What do you think when you think reindeer?
Santa.
And Christmas.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Russia is killing Christmas.
They're killing reindeer?
Russia's war in Ukraine is having far-reaching and surprising impacts. Hey, there! Even hundreds of miles away, here in Finland. Every year, hundreds of thousands of tourists from all over the world flock here to the Arctic Circle.
I have a feeling that you came to see Santa.
Finnish legend has it that this is the home of Santa Claus.
Baloney.
The iconic reindeer are at the heart of Finland's culture and economy. But Finland's reindeer are in trouble. Thousands are showing up dead. And you might be surprised to know who people here blame. Russian President Vladimir Putin. Russia's border with Finland stretches over 800 miles, the longest of any NATO country. Juha Kujala lives just a few miles away. His family have been wrangling reindeer for over 400 years. He now sells reindeer everything, from reindeer yoga, think like a reindeer, to sleigh rides.
Did she say yogurt or yoga?
Yoga.
Oh.
Poor reindeer. What is it that's killing the reindeer?
Wolf is the worst.
Mhm.
And they just kill. It's awful. This area wolves, most of them come for the east, the Russian side.
How do you know that?
You see the tracks, they come for the Russian side.
Why do you think there are more Russian wolves?
That's the Putin who changed the world.
Putin?
Yeah, the soldiers and the young hunters, they hunt the wolves. But now they're hunting people in Ukraine. There's nobody anymore there left who's hunting wolves.
So do you blame Vladimir Putin for these dead reindeer?
Who could I blame? I could blame the whole world. Why this shit happened? It's getting worse after the Ukraine war.
Such a philosopher.
Oh my gosh. So nature is balancing out because the young men that used to hunt wolves in northern Russia are now at war. And so the wolf population of Russia is increasing, and it's killing the reindeer population of Finland, where
Yes.
Santa Claus does not live.
Yeah. Yes, but he does live there because CNN said so.
When's the last time you got a jar of pickled herring in your stocking? Never? Yeah, because he's not from Finland.
I love that this is what you get animated about.
Well, it's for Finland to claim, yeah, Santa Claus. If a jolly guy who I've sat on his lap many times as a child never had that goofy ass accent, he's definitely not from there. He's from Greenland.
Oh, is that right?
Northern Greenland, yeah.
That's really why we want Greenland.
We
have to seize the means of production.
That's right. Every kid will have Etch-a-Sketches again. No more cheap
That's right.
Chinese electronics.
Make America great again. That's all part of it.
Yeah. Take the North Pole. It's in the Western Hemisphere.
Okay. So I've got a second clip here from this report called Explainer.
In an effort to control the thriving wolf population, Russian men have long been paid bounties by the state for every wolf they hunt. But experts who track the Russian military
And
tell
they're
us that
hunting them
recruitment
with
drives into
HIMARS.
the war in Ukraine have been intense, leaving fewer people to hunt the wolves. Now, reports in Russian media say wolves are increasingly entering villages and towns. And it seems they're crossing the border. Extensive wolf DNA testing supports that theory. In Finland, there's been a dramatic rise in wolves, which are killing reindeer in record numbers. Sightings like these are increasingly common all along eastern Finland. That's something that will be difficult to stop, as tensions along this over 800-mile border are at their highest point in decades.
So right now we are with some Finnish conscripts in the northernmost part of the European Union.
Finland has increased defence spending and is carrying out large-scale military training.
Finland seems like a very optimistic but also very prepared country.
It's smart to prepare.
As Finland preps for the worst, Kujala is hoping for the best.
Hopefully, Mr. Trump, if you hear me, do everything to try to stop this war. If we cannot fix this wolf situation quickly, some part of the area gonna be without reindeers.
And what would that mean to you?
Like somebody took my life away.
Oh my God. Yes, end the war for that guy's life.
You don't want to die for NATO? Will you die for Santa Claus?
Right. You know, I blame Epic Games for the rise of coyotes in my parents' neighborhood. Because before, so basically, long story short, the pheasants returned. Natural wild pheasants returned to my parents' area. For years and years, they were stalked by conservationists. Then the population of pheasants boomed. And because the population of pheasants boomed, the presence and population of coyotes also boomed. And before, kids used to go out and they used to hunt coyotes, but then they got distracted by video games. So, Epic Games and Fortnite, you have destroyed pheasants in Wisconsin. The logic is insane.
Hey, you know, that's we need to go to war with Russia.
Evidently, we need to save Santa's reindeer and end Russia. What an excellent angle by CNN. One of the reasons why no one watches the news anymore. They run that kind of.
I think this is pure entertainment.
Ugh.
But I'm glad people listen to us for their news, so that they don't have to listen and sift through everything that is not as entertaining as let's die for Santa Claus.
Well, you know, they interviewed that guy probably months ago. And like, oh, this will be great for when no one wants to work and it's Christmas time. Boom.
Yeah, I've also got some clips about Taiwan, because there was some news out of Taiwan as well this week.
Okay.
This is from PBS. The United States has finalized a third weapons sale to Taiwan, and China's not happy.
Oh, well.
The Trump administration has approved the largest single package of weapons sales to Taiwan in U.S. history.
Biggest package ever.
Many of the systems mirror
100
those
times more powerful than the other weapons.
the U.S. has supplied to Ukraine. The move is part of a broader U.S. effort to help Taiwan, like Ukraine, deter and, if necessary, defend itself against a far larger neighbor. Beijing has responded angrily. Nick Schifrin reports.
In Taiwan, the military prepares for war with American artillery designed to sink Chinese invaders. It's the very same weapon the U.S. provided Ukraine to target Russian invaders. Taiwan is ordering $4 billion worth of this mobile artillery system, HIMARS. And $4 billion worth of self-propelled artillery, also widespread in Ukraine. Today's package also includes $1 billion worth of autonomous drones made by U.S. manufacturer Anduril.
Ooh.
For years, the U.S. has urged Taiwan to focus less on big, expensive weapon systems that are unlikely to survive a Chinese invasion, and instead fight like Ukraine. Ukrainian soldiers used less expensive mobile weapons like the Javelin to disable Russian tanks. After years of debate, Taiwan has embraced the same weapons and idea of fighting like a porcupine, making itself impossible or fatal to swallow, including with the Javelin, $375 million worth included in today's package.
I think the Russia-Ukraine war is a wake-up call for Taiwan. Like Ukraine, we have a powerful adversary nearby.
Did they have David Muir voice over this guy?
It sounds like it, doesn't it?
Yeah.
That's why we need more asymmetric weapons to strengthen both our defense and ground forces and counter a powerful air force such as China.
Oh, that's great. More weapons for Ukraine. So the funny part is that, you know, Russia and China have backed off on what we're doing in Venezuela, right? And we're like, oh.
Yes.
They're like, oh, Mr. Trump, why you supply Taiwan with weapon? We treat you so nice in Venezuela.
we give you best price.
We give you best price in Venezuela. Now you in our own backyard and trying to sell boom boom stick? No.
Yeah,
it's funny because it's like you better not come in the Western Hemisphere. Oh, by the way, we're
knock knock.
Yeah, knock knock. Exactly. I can see how people don't like us.
Yeah, well, the focus of this is to incur a very high cost of invasion.
Yeah, the porcupine. You're
Right.
not just going to take it. You're going to take a lot of casualty.
Exactly. It's
well.
not going to be worth it. And that's the next clip here.
China's People's Liberation Army, or PLA, has launched one of the fastest military modernizations in world history. The U.S. says the buildup is custom designed to prevent U.S. forces to come to Taiwan's rescue, as demonstrated in these propaganda videos, and to be able to invade Taiwan by 2027. Today's package of weapons designed to stop this from happening.
These are weapons that will really prevent the PLA, or maybe even prevent Xi Jinping from making a decision to send the PLA across the strait, because they will impose very high costs on an invading PLA.
Bonnie Glaser is the Indo-Pacific Program Managing Director of the German Marshall Fund.
It's a great honor to be with a friend of mine.
Glaser says there was no guarantee President Trump would send Taiwan weapons when he's made clear he wants a deal with Chinese leader Xi Jinping. But the new national security strategy declares deterring a conflict over Taiwan, ideally by preserving military overmatch, is a priority.
Many people have suggested that President Trump is softening his language toward China, that he may be willing to use Taiwan as a bargaining chip, and that he doesn't really care very much about Taiwan's security. But I think that this language tells us otherwise. He is not pursuing a more isolationist strategy or pulling back from our commitment to Taiwan.
Which is exactly what angered Beijing today, calling the weapons announcement a violation of diplomatic agreements and an attack on Chinese sovereignty and security.
The U.S. side is already covering itself from the fire it's ignited. The Taiwan question is China's core interest and the first impassable red line in Sino-U.S. relations. No one should underestimate the firm will and strong capability of the Chinese government and people to defend its national sovereignty and territorial integrity.
This is a bit of a warning message. However, it is only rhetoric. And this is the third arms sale that has taken place since the two leaders met. And China's reaction has been limited to tough rhetoric.
She brings up the point of some people have posited that Trump may use Taiwan as a bargaining chip. And we ourselves have said that here, that we may be willing to allow an opposition party to take power in Taiwan and let Taiwan go the way of Hong Kong so that we can steadily transition the critical chips manufacturing and onshore some of it here, and still maintain trade relations in the meantime while we allow China to pursue the Hong Kong strategy, which is to own the politics of the place until the place itself votes to become a part of China.
Yeah, and becomes irrelevant. Once we have the production capabilities of the chips mainland, then Taiwan is done. And
so I thought it.
I wonder if what Taiwanese think of that, and if they're thinking of it. And I imagine they are.
I think they are, because PBS includes a clip in this report about the opposition party.
But the new head of Taiwan's opposition party, Chung Li-wan, is worried about Chinese rhetoric and argues Taiwan should limit its defense spending and says more weapons could provoke the very war they're designed to avoid. She also recently told Deutsche Welle NATO was to blame for the war in Ukraine.
Putin is a president elected through democratic votes. You can't label him a dictator. Pinning that label on him is unreasonable and unfair.
But the Taiwanese government, with the help of the Trump administration, is trying to arm itself to avoid the war the Ukraine has had to fight. For the PBS NewsHour, I'm Nick Schifrin.
So we've got this little, just throwing in the fact that there's an opposition party leader in the mix who doesn't want to arm Taiwan and wants to normalize relations, which is the first step to the Hong Kong strategy.
Right. Yeah, I think it's way easier to set up chip production in the United States than it is to defend a tiny island over a massive mainland halfway around the world.
Yeah, because the war, as far as China is concerned, would be to stockpile the chips necessary to supply their military weaponry for a decade, maybe, of production. And then you just take out the chip manufacturers. That's your attack vector. And then it's not worth unless it's purely ideological, which we have not been above in the past. You greatly reduce the reason for spending blood and treasure on Taiwan if those chip facilities aren't up and running.
Yeah, that should be the whole thing right there. We get the technology out, and then we rig up the chip factories to explode.
Thanks, Taiwan.
Yeah, exactly. I think it was before the CHIPS Act was signed, before this agreement that the semiconductor Taiwan factory was going to open up a plant in the U.S. I think I had proposed moving all of Taiwan to Arkansas.
Yes, you did. No one listened.
No, I think that's a great idea.
Well, maybe they listened. We don't know yet.
I don't know why Arkansas, but I think there's a lot of land, and they could use a little bit of culture down there,
Sure. I think my last international piece is going to be about, where is it? I think it's going to be about France, and it's in the AI folder. And there's a telling piece in here, and we'll see if you pick it up. It's kind of tough. I had to listen to this clip 3 times before I picked it up and realized what was going on here. But let's hear the France coup from France 24 and see what you take away from this.
Contrary to what some have heard, Emmanuel Macron is still the president of France and has not been overthrown by an unnamed colonel. This after a series of artificial intelligence-generated videos purported to show journalists reporting live from Paris on an ongoing coup.
For now, unofficial sources are describing a coup d'etat in France led by an unidentified colonel and the possible toppling of Emmanuel Macron.
2 days later, more false AI videos purported to confirm the putsch from the presidential palace and from the streets.
Live from Paris, the situation continues to develop, and as you can see, supporters of the colonel have taken to the streets.
The videos garnered millions of views, but did not cross the president's radar until days later, when he received a concerned message from an African counterpart.
A Facebook message that said, "Dear President, what's happening in France? I'm very worried."
The president's response to the content was one of indignation.
I believe in a free and open debate, but these people are making a mockery of us. They don't care about protecting public debate.
And he was especially unimpressed by the platform when they declined to take the videos down.
The message from Facebook read, "This does not contravene our rules of acceptable use." They refused to withdraw it. When we have manifestly fake news that endangers public safety through destabilization, it must be possible to take them down.
The videos were subsequently removed on Wednesday morning, but as AI-generated content has proliferated, its quality has improved, and it has become an increasingly effective vehicle for fake news.
Yeah, that's funny, but it is interesting because I've realized that there is a generational gap where when I see an AI video, it's pretty obvious to me, like, oh, he went through the door twice. When older people, and it's looking at the details of the video to confirm that it is indeed authentic. I think you'll see a lot of like fat women hopping into a bathtub with their husband, and the bathtub just goes through the floor entirely. And you're like, well, that didn't happen, right? That's pretty obvious. But I think a lot of the older generations don't look for the details in the video, but the point of the video. And so what they see then is, oh, wow, I can't believe that lady was that fat that she, busted the bathtub through the floor. And so they miss entirely they're preoccupied with the forest and they miss the leaf.
Yes, they do. The leaf with 8 fingers.
That's right. That's right.
Now, I have an entertaining anecdote anyway about this. When we were on our way back from Central America, and we had made it to the Atlanta airport, and we're about to take our last flight home. And our gate got changed a couple times. We were en route to having our flight canceled and rescheduled for the next morning, but we were sitting at the gate waiting for the determination of whether or not we would be able to get on this plane or not. So we're just sitting there. Everyone's quiet. Everyone's already gone up to the gate agent and, yelled and cursed and aired their grievances as if it was Festivus. Yes, I'm becoming too predictable. But we're sitting there, and I'm sitting next to these 2 black women, and they had some bags that had implied they had been in France. And I'm sitting there, and I'm listening, and I'm just listening to everybody around me. And one of them pulls up her phone and shows a video, which I hadn't seen at the time, but I saw it afterward. She shows her friend a video and says, "Do you think this is AI?" And her friend laughs and says, "Ain't no umbrella gonna hold up no monkey like that." And I almost bit through my tongue trying not to laugh because we were all delirious. We were all on edge about our flight. And then I just hear this lady in sequence after, "Do you think this is AI?" say, ain't no umbrella gonna hold up no monkey like that." And sure enough, I saw this video after, and it's a video of some tourists in a mountainous area, and they have umbrellas, and a monkey snatches the umbrella and then flies away holding the umbrella. Entertaining video, but her reaction was correct to be skeptical of this video, entertaining as it might be. And I think this is it. It is going to get more difficult to ascertain whether these are real or not. But the point of this African coup, or a little Freudian slip there, the point of this French coup segment is to point out that this was circulating in Africa. Macron hadn't seen it. I would almost guarantee no one in France had seen it.
Yeah,
it was circulating in Africa, in places where the French military had pulled out, And these other governments had been taking over through military coups, like the governments in the Sahel region that we've talked about.
Right.
This was a public morale operation. You know, we've recently done a military coup, and you can feel comfortable about that because it's also happening in France.
It's normal. Normalize it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's good. That's a good pickup. I like that. Context they didn't provide in the clip itself.
Yes.
Of course, Africa being all the old French colonies, so it makes perfect sense.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, good. I like that.
And why don't you put down a marker for my part of my anecdote there, just in case we don't have anything else for intro.
I've got a few. I've been dropping markers.
Okay. All right. You're on your game.
Yep. The Balkans is bubbling. I picked up a weird clip.
The bubbling Balkans.
The bubbling Balkans. Two clips, one out of Albania, and this is about a protest over government corruption. This one doesn't seem to be Gen Z, but we'll listen to it. And then a secondary one out of Serbia.
Tensions flared at the Albanian capital city of Tirana as opposition-led protesters took to the streets demanding the resignation of PM Edi Rama and the government for over corruption charges. This comes just days after prosecutors indicted the Deputy Prime Minister over alleged corruption charges. Now, the anti-government protesters, they demonstrated in Tirana just last evening amid political tensions in the Balkan country. In recent weeks, these were the scenes as protesters hurled fire bombs at Prime Minister Edi Rama's office building last evening. The unrest only seemed to be increasing in intensity as protests turned violent. Police in riot gear ramped up security around Edi Rama's office and other government buildings.
Let us unite as much as possible. In your name, I invite all opposition political forces. I invite every opposition member. I invite every courageous person to continue in this decisive battle for the fate of this nation that is dying out, that is being devastated, for the fate of this blessed nation from which its sons and daughters are leaving, no longer believing in it.
It's a pretty powerful speech.
What is more scandalous is that instead of resigning, the Deputy Prime Minister is being defended by the Prime Minister. Prosecution is not allowed to conduct investigations by removing her immunity. So we have reached the limit. This involves alleged theft of tens and even hundreds of millions of euros. I don't know what else should be done. I don't know if there is anywhere in the world where someone in such a situation continues to remain in government.
Yeah. All right. So that's going on in Albania, a little bit of protest. The Balkans are always popping up. But then I saw this curious clip. Two clips out of Euro News. One was about Kosovo accepting kind of migrants from the U.S. because of, what we did for them for 70 days back in the 1990s, late 1990s. And then Serbia, where is this? Oh, there's so many clips in here. I can barely see anything. Yeah, Serbia. So this clip was out of Euro News, which I thought was kind of interesting.
No oil has reached Serbia for almost 2 months.
No
US
oil.
sanctions on NIS, the petroleum industry of Serbia, are putting the country under growing energy pressure. The company's majority owner, Russia, is looking to sell its stake, but Serbia, with a minority share, was not offered the opportunity to buy it. President Vučić says the situation will not harm Serbia's ties with Russia, but concerns at home are rising. Over 80% of Serbia's gas comes from Russia, and most fuel comes through NIS. Many citizens are worried about how the country would cope if the disruption continues. Vučić's balancing act has long shaped Serbia's foreign policy. As the country moves toward Europe, meetings with Putin, Trump, and Xi Jinping show Belgrade wants to maintain good ties with all major powers. Criticism is also coming from the European Union, as Serbia is one of the few countries in Europe not imposing sanctions on Russia over the war in Ukraine. Pavle Grbović, leader of the pro-European movement of Free Citizens, argues that Serbia's balancing policy makes it a partner that cannot be fully trusted. On the other hand, the pro-Russian party We, the Strength of Serbia, supports stronger ties with Russia. They say Vucic's current policy is moving Serbia further away from Moscow. Tensions are also evident in relations with the United States, but there is a business plan that could help ease them.
Yeah, they're going to build a Trump Tower in Serbia. Off there.
Hello, Jared Kushner.
Exactly.
The Trump Towers project, planned for the heart of Belgrade by Donald Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner, is seen by
Jared Kushner. Yeah. So they want to build the thing there, but basically there's this economic pressure on Serbia, and they're really kind of getting torn between Moscow and the European Union or the West in general.
Oh, where did that happen last?
Exactly. Exactly. So it's a rumble in the jungle, and I think that Trump, in like a gesture to Europe, is going to say, go ahead and take Serbia. So I think Serbia is going to join the European Union one of these days.
It's perfect. We don't have a world war. Everybody just gets to fight their own.
Right.
We get to fight in Venezuela and Cuba. Europe gets to fight in Serbia. Russia gets to fight in Ukraine. And China gets to fight in Taiwan. It's beautiful. And Australia gets to fight its own citizens.
Well, usually that's how world wars are started. There's wars going on everywhere.
Well.
And then somebody decides to invade Poland, and then, all hell breaks loose.
Shoot an archduke.
Yeah, something along those lines. So, yeah, it is interesting. I thought the protests in it's like every single country. I feel like we're rounding the globe, and it's like every single country every other week has got something going on. We've talked about Slovenia, we've talked about Croatia, Bosnia, Herzegovina, Montenegro, Albania, Bulgaria, Romania. We've covered all of these places. Moldova. It's just it's happening everywhere. So the world is on a teeter-totter. It's like if you ever played Ghost Recon back in the day. That's how the whole game starts. The world is on a teeter-totter. Basically, you've got to counter Russian influence in all of these ex-Balkan regions, or Balkan regions and ex-Soviet satellite states, to prevent World War III. And it's kind of like Ghost Recon right now, except instead of wars, it's just these spats back and forth and oil and energy. So that's fun. What do you think we should thank some people?
Well, I think we probably should.
Perfect.
Millennial Media.
Offensive.
You are rolling along on The Offensive every Tuesday night at about 5:30 p.m. Central Time. John and I hop on the stream and go through the news, what we're seeing happening, and give you our thoughts and opinions on it. We're not going to try to sell you stamps or any other kind of thing because we don't do that. We don't have advertisers. We are not compromised by Big Pharma. Instead, we rely on information, donations, and other stuff from our listeners, from the people that listen to the show. They produce the show as well, and they provide value to us and come in art, information, money, Bitcoin, just general camaraderie. Weirdo is oftentimes developing projects for the show and art for our merch shop. I apologize. My life has been turned upside down recently, so I need to look into some of those and carve out some time to get them done. But it's all value, and it's all very much appreciated. That being said, we always like to thank the person that did the art from the previous week. And surprise, surprise, it was Wolf that came in with his, what is this turtle? Franklin the Turtle makes bombs for Turtle
Franklin.
Island.
Yeah. Yeah. It was too good of an overlap in topics to not do this art and choose this piece as well. Because you had the Turtle Island Liberation Front, and you also had the Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, using Franklin images to try to justify murder in international waters, as crazy as that sentence is. And it was a really good piece. You have the cluttered workshop that it's not too cluttered that it doesn't work. It's not distracting. You get the focus of the piece, that this is a This is a turtle in his basement, and you get the joke that he's building bombs once you listen to the show.
Yeah, it's nice. And the font, our names are in nice little cartoon
clocks.
Bombs.
Yeah. Oh, bombs. Yeah, the bombs.
I love it. He submitted a few other ones. One that was very, very funny. And it involved a bunch of flip-flops on a beach. I'll let you people put that together with context clues.
But we did not choose it.
We did not choose it just because we don't want to be hunted down. And then he had an ISIS-free zone, which was good. It's like a Christmas market, and it had been declared an ISIS-free zone. And then finally the MMO oil, which is we became the Houthis overnight and started boarding pirate ships, dropping troops onto ships like the Houthis had been. So it's pretty funny. And the font on this one is killer too. Very military-esque, very Call of Duty-ish. I loved it. Thank you very much,
Good
Wolf.
pieces.
Yep.
But Franklin was the best.
Franklin was indeed the best. We appreciate it. It doesn't have to be Wolf. If you got an art idea, you can send it to dan@mmo.show and john@mmo.show. Operators are standing by to grade your art. So very much appreciated on that front. Then we had a couple of people come in with fiat donations, and I will read them as such. Sitting off at the top of the list and earning himself an executive or associate executive producer is the Nail Lord of Gaylord, who came in through Venmo with $50. Big dono, and said, "NLog here, OTO. Recruiting numbers are up, and BNPL loans are at an all-time high." That's buy now, pay later. Prepare, boys. Our politics and religions do not align, but we can agree that both parties are out to crush us. Thanks for keeping me informed. The Nail Lord of Gaylord, of course, is an anarchist Hindu, so. I'm just kidding. I don't know what his politics or his religion are, but I'm glad that we can find some common ground and agree that, yes, both parties are indeed the worst. Then we had, thank you very much, Nail Lord. Glad you're back from Nam. Sam S. of Beargrass in Burblandia came in through PayPal with $25.12 and says, "As we celebrate the birth of Jesus, don't let Tucker or globalists posing as Christians or any other spooky op runners dictate the meaning of his teachings," his capital, of course, or the meaning of anything else for that matter. Take the clear pill, support MMO, and have a Merry Christmas. Man, I love it. I'm going to give you one of these. On the offensive. Appreciate that. Thank you very much, Sam S. of Beargrass. Yes, take the clear pill and stay on the offensive. Cotton Gin came in through Cash App with $20 and says OTO, to which I say,
Where's the beef?
no, I don't. On the offensive. Thank you. My light that usually illuminates my board so I can see the buttons that I'm hitting is off for whatever reason. Thank you, Cotton Gin. Plaid Potion came in through PayPal with $19.84 and says, "Been a second. Apologies. Stay OTO." On the offensive. And OTT. On the... I remember we figured it out, and I've since forgot it. So thank you very much, Plaid Potion. Prictor Pareka of the Peoria Diocese, a.k.a. Empress Emily M., came in through PayPal with $12.25, the Christmas donation, and says, "Merry Christmas, my millennials, OTO, go to Mass." On the offensive.
My millennials, stay woke.
And sure we will. Chucky Chuckles came in through PayPal with $10.46. My note says, "See email." And I've got it right here.
Yes.
Unless you would like to read it.
No, go ahead. I just wanted to make sure you had it.
Yep. 15 Canuck bucks for an excellent American podcast.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. With the Venezuelan oil tanker seizures, what is not reported is the impact on Cuba. Cutting the oil supply from Venezuela directly impacts Cuba energy imports, further worsening the Cuban domestic power crisis, ideally leading to protests and undermining the stability of the Cuban government. It is also known that Cuba runs the Venezuelan intelligence service, another leg in the stool propping up the Maduro government. The end goal is that Cuba, Venezuela, and Nicaragua are all eventually flipped to the side of the U.S. when they realize they could be much better off with the sweet American investment and oil production technology. There are also significant natural gas and oil reserves off the coast of Cuba. Only then will the U.S. be confident at keeping China and Russia's influence in the Western Hemisphere at bay. A recent series of right-wing governments coming into power in the Americas will solidify this trend, as many are supportive of the regime change in Venezuela. Happy Christmas to you and your young families, Chucky Chuckles. You can tell he's Canadian because he says Happy Christmas. Thank you very much, Chucky Chuckles. He says, P.S. I am totally convinced that social media bans for children will be the gateway for digital ID implementations worldwide. Everyone in the industry and governments are watching Australia's experiment and example now. My cousin is a school teacher in Perth and told me she has noticed a marked improvement in children's ability to play and their mental health once phone and other devices were removed from school. And the new ban just reinforces it in the home as well. I agree with you. I think we kind of came to that conclusion too on last week's show. So thank you very much. Great insight on Cuba and Venezuela. We also agree with that too. So good job, Chucky Chuckles. Much appreciated. And thank you for the donation as well. Finally, Praetor Weirdo of the Not So Flatlands came in through Cash App with $10 and says, Merry Christmas, you filthy animals. OTO.
On the offensive.
Thank you, sir. That does it for our fiat donations.
And we have some people who sent in Bitcoin donations through a Modern Podcast app of their choosing. First on the list, and I'm going to refresh just to make sure we don't have any more, but first on the list is Eric PP with 3,333 Satoshis and no note. Bully Steed comes in with 1,232 and says, remain on the offensive, hashtag MMO, ask that you look at a map.
On the offensive.
Let me ask you to look again at a map.
Weirdo comes in with 1,000 Satoshis, boosting the pilot episode, MMO number 1. Make introspection great again. I'm afraid to do that, Weirdo. I'm sorry.
I think I talked about introspection in episode 1. So.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, it's been 4 years, so I don't know either. Thank you, Weirdo.
Sir Jared of South Burien comes in with 333 Satoshis and no note. Fairvolt T comes in with 198 and says, if you're of extraterrestrial origins, stay away, OTO. And then a big smiley face. And then, double hitter. Noster Gang comes in with 111 Satoshis and says, OTO with a heart. We heart you too, Noster Gang. We heart everyone. And we heart Eric PP, who streamed 30,945 while listening to the show, I believe, live.
That's a lot of Satoshis. Thank you, Eric PP.
It's very appreciated, very much appreciated. We wouldn't be doing this without all of you. And we're going to continue to do it as long as you continue to support us, because we don't rely on ads. We will not take ads because we believe that ads are not only surveillance, but they are also censorship. So we are supported by you. We will always be supported by you. And when you stop supporting us, that's when we will stop producing this product. We'll say it was a good run. The people have spoken. We'll get on with our lives. Until then, we will continue to remain on the offensive, and we ask that you do as well and relay the value that you find in this product to us.
Amen.
Get it on.
Well, I don't know how much I have for the second half of the show.
Well, then just let me run.
All right.
Since we're out of the donation segment and we talk about Bitcoin in the donation segment because of the way people donate to the show, I have some Bitcoin material. I'm going to have these links in the show notes. For anyone who is involved in the Bitcoin sphere, probably know about this, and we haven't talked about it, but the co-founder of Samurai Wallet has been imprisoned because of an investigation and charges that were levied during the Biden administration, and he is trying to he's asking for a pardon from the Trump administration. He's in prison for 5 years as it stands right now, just started his prison sentence. And basically, he was convicted of creating privacy tools. The way it's presented by people in the Bitcoin sphere is he was convicted of writing code. And I would highly encourage anyone who believes that code constitutes free speech and that you should have a right to privacy tools. I would highly encourage you to go to the show notes from tonight and sign the petition to have this gentleman pardoned. You can look into this story. There's plenty of writing about it, especially on X. But yeah, it's a holdover travesty from the Biden administration, and I think it should be corrected.
Amen.
Now, let's talk a little bit about welfare and health care. First, we'll start with welfare and really warm ourselves up to this topic. If we go into the welfare folder, we're going to hear some details that have come out about the charges associated with the Minnesota welfare fraud schemes. And this is a state's attorney speaking in this clip.
Minnesota's fraud crisis is growing. Today, prosecutors charge more people for billing the state for social services they did not provide. The federal prosecutor says it's possible half or more of the $18 billion billed to 14 programs since 2018 is fraudulent. We have team coverage, starting with Jonah Kaplan with more on what we've learned about these latest charges. Jonah, so we've gone from maybe $1 billion to possibly $9 billion or more?
Well, we've heard from the new U.S. Attorney, Frank, that we're not even at the end of the beginning of this investigation, and now we know why. Feeding our future was just the tip of the iceberg.
The fraud is not small. It isn't isolated. The magnitude cannot be overstated.
Prosecutors on Thursday indicting 6 people, including one already charged in another case. The 5 new defendants are all accused of defrauding a state program meant to provide housing assistance to the disabled and those dealing with addiction. 2 people charged aren't even from here. According to officials, Anthony Jefferson and Lester Brown came from Philadelphia to Minnesota looking for an opportunity to make money. They set up 2 fake companies and collected $3.5 million.
This is an instance of what's essentially fraud tourism. Mr. Jefferson and Brown were residents of Philadelphia who had no connection to Minnesota, except for they heard that Minnesota and its housing stabilization services program was easy money.
The state already cut off the housing stabilization program because of suspected fraud, but it's one of 14 social programs now under federal investigation. Together, they billed $18 billion since 2018. We asked how much could have been fraud.
You know, I don't make these generalizations in a hasty way. So when I say a significant amount, I'm talking in the order of half or more. But we'll see.
One of the new indictments accuses a fraudster of exploiting a program to help children with autism. Court documents say Abdinajib Hassan Youssef used some of the $6 million he stole to buy a Freightliner semi-truck. Governor Walz in a statement said he applauds the new indictment, saying, quote, "This is exactly the type of strong action we need from prosecutors to ensure fraudsters are put behind bars." Frank, this is not going away anytime soon.
It doesn't sound like it, for sure. Thanks, Jonah.
No, it doesn't, Jonah.
Okay, I have a fraud report from Fox 9, which is a local station, and they're going to bring up the point. They're going to harp on the point that the prosecutor says at least $9 billion is fraudulent, and they're going to make a distinction between the fact that $9 billion is a stated number and the prosecutors have proven only $350 million so far.
Gotcha.
Fraud of $9 billion or more in Minnesota is the story federal prosecutors are now telling, although they've so far proved a lot less.
I do have concerns that people will repeat that figure as fact.
The state is scrambling to rein in the fraud and the perception that the governor and state agencies didn't take it seriously soon enough. In October, an outside agency started auditing the state's 14 programs deemed to be at high risk for fraud. The month before, BCA Superintendent Drew Evans held the first monthly meeting of the people who are responsible for monitoring fraud in each state agency.
Sometimes we have fragmented systems that don't share data well across the enterprise. We've known that's a problem.
For the first time, agencies with different structures are sharing information about vulnerabilities and the tools to plug those holes.
Identifying trends and issues that are being seen to get everybody on the front page before something replicates in another state agency.
But as they try to minimize fraud, Republicans are keeping it in focus. The U.S. House Oversight Committee announced Monday it asked to interview 7 current and former Minnesota state officials to get details on how fraud grew to at least the $350 million proved to date. And 98 mayors cited concerns about fraud in a letter complaining about costs shifting to local communities and raising property taxes. DHS Inspector General James Clark says the state had a business vetting problem and they need better monitoring technology, but they've made strides this year.
Since I've come aboard in March, we are leaning into enhanced data analytics. So some of the work that you've seen, suspending payments to providers, that is a result of data analytics.
That'll solve it.
Yeah. And state employees are now mandated to report any suspicious fraud activity that they believe might be fraud. So the BCA has an anonymous online portal, and through that, they've gotten about 200 tips this year.
I think if they pitch it to Tim Walz as plugging holes, he'll be on board.
Very, very good. Now, I want to point out something, a minute detail in the language used in that report. The report says while the state is working to reduce fraud, Republicans are keeping it in focus, implying that the fact that Republicans are talking about this is actually hindering the state's efforts to limit fraud, which is completely dishonest and misleading. Those are just the kind of things even in local reports, you'll hear things like that.
Of course.
Okay, so let's move over to Maine. This is a News Nation piece about a Maine whistleblower.
A whistleblower is now accusing a contractor in Maine of defrauding taxpayers out of millions of dollars over the course of 7 years. It's a story you'll see first here on the Hill and exclusively on News Nation, and it centers on Maine's Medicaid program. The business at the center of the allegations, founded by a Somali American, drawing comparisons perhaps to the scandal that has rocked the state of Minnesota. Our Rich McHugh joins us live tonight from Lewiston, Maine, with his exclusive reporting. Hello, Rich.
Hi, Blake. Yeah, we're here in Maine, but this story is eerily reminiscent of the scandal that's evolving in Minnesota. We spoke with a whistleblower who alleges that millions have been bilked from the state here, from taxpayers and the Medicaid system, and that a Somali American-led health services contractor is at the center of it all.
I thought that we were doing the right thing this whole time. And the more I started digging, the more I started finding. And I just couldn't believe what I was seeing, that this was happening, and that I was part of this.
Chris Bernardini spent 7 years working for Gateway Community Services, a Somali American-led health services contractor in Maine. Bernardini alleges Gateway oversaw a system in which false records were filed about client visits. And he says they charged taxpayers for providing services that were never performed.
We started getting some clients calling and saying, months later that their client owed them hours. They hadn't come in for these shifts and stuff. But I had a time card for it.
And they were billing for it.
They were billing for it.
In March of 2022, Gateway received a notice of violation from the state's Maine Care Services Program Integrity Unit based on an audit of records taken at random from January 2017 through December of 2018. Gateway overbilled by an estimated $904,000.
In your professional opinion, what you saw was fraud?
Absolute.
No doubt about it.
No doubt about it.
But Bernardini says when the pandemic hit, it got worse.
I started seeing bonuses, $2,000 bonuses going to these staff that had only been with us for 2 weeks, never worked a shift with a client. And yet the PPP loan comes, you're giving $2,000 away like they're lollipops at a doctor's office.
Be some good lollipops.
It would have to be. Let me have the truffle pop, please.
I don't care what flavor it is. I'll just resell it.
Let's hear some responses.
In April of 2024, Bernardini wrote to the Department of Homeland Security seeking whistleblower protection. They referred him back to the state of Maine. Nearly a year later, Gateway fired Bernardini. The company's founder and CEO is Abdullahi Ali, a Somali American who, while at the time serving as executive director for Gateway, last year ran for president of Jubaland, a state in Somalia's south that borders Kenya. Last week, he posted on X, I make no apologies for building a successful business in Maine, working hard to earn a living, earning my PhD, giving back to my Maine community, and running for office in Jubaland. I am proud to contribute my hard-earned dollars to support my people back home. We reached out to Ali for comment multiple times. We even came to Gateway to try and speak with him. Hello, I'm with News Nation. My name is... No comment? Is Mr. Ali here? Can we speak with Mr. Ali? Republican State Senator Matt Harrington has called on Governor Janet Mills to investigate.
It's just an absolute insult to the Maine taxpayer. That we know that there's this Medicaid fraud going on by Gateway Community Services. We're seeing nothing from the Mills administration on this, and I think it's appalling.
I still can't believe it. I still can't believe I took so much of my time and put so much of my life into this agency that just tossed me aside. It's caused me to reflect a lot and, you know, try to trust my gut more and speak up more when I see something. It's not right.
Now, we've reached out repeatedly to Mr. Ali, to Gateway behind me. We've reached out to Governor Janet Mills, the head of Health and Human Services here. We've even reached out to the 3 Democratic Somalian American state reps here. Nobody would speak with us. Blake?
Huh.
Great analysis, Blake.
Yep.
Now, Mr. Ali in Maine may be as far as this goes. Because what do we know about Jubaland? Jubaland in Somalia is the startup state within Somalia that the U.S. was backing to try to stabilize the country. So what better way to fund regime change than to have these immigrant communities come over, take advantage of the slush fund that is Medicare billing, send it back to Somalia to fund a presidential run in Jubaland so that he can take power or be elected, get into position, and do the U.S.'s bidding in Somalia and finally end the problem that is endemic in Somalia.
I mean, we couldn't just send the guy a couple $1 million. He had to scam it himself and go back.
Well, it's lower priority. So, you know, we can't get you the money, but we can tell you how to get it.
I don't know. Maybe.
I don't know either. But yeah, I heard Jubaland, and what? I mean, is this a coincidence that this guy who was running one of these companies also ran for president of Jubaland?
Well, he certainly got out of Dodge in the right time.
Well, he got the word. Gravy train's over.
Time to go back to your tire fires.
Okay. Let's move on to another. This is the actual healthcare folder. This is Florida Representative Aaron Beam in a hearing about an organ transplant loophole that happened, I believe, yesterday.
Oh. Interesting.
It is shocking, and I'm so glad the cameras are watching, and I know C-SPAN is watching. America will be shocked when they find out what's happening behind these organ, just the way that we harvest organs and give organs to families and breaking hearts, Ms. Knuckles, Ms. Martin. I'm truly sorry, and it is shocking. It's also, I'm going to use a word you don't hear very often, it's evil. It's evil to rob families of the hope, to mislead them, to take organs before any organ should be taken. I'm really sorry. So I've got a picture behind me, and I want to ask Ms. Erickson, can you explain what I'm looking at with this picture behind me, Ms. Erickson?
Yes, Congressman. According to a whistleblower, those are boxes of human organs that are sitting on shelves, including human pancreases.
So pancreas. Now, if you donate a pancreas, shouldn't they go directly towards somebody in need of a pancreas?
Yes, sir. That's what families agree to.
So why aren't they going? In fact, I know why they're going, because there's a loophole in the law that says that you can use them for research. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. In 2020, CMS finalized a new regulation that said that OPOs only get credit for organs that are actually transplanted. But the loophole allowed them to declare credit for pancreases that they said were recovered for research.
So the people that donated these organs thought they were going to save a life or do something big. Have we, as CMS, defined research or put any timeline on what research is?
No, sir, they have not.
Yeah, CMS is a cluster F.
Yeah, so these organs are being designated as research organs and then just going and sitting on shelves. And everyone's getting paid, but the family who donated the organ of their loved one is being gypped. They're being duped.
Yep. Yeah.
But everyone's getting paid.
Yeah. For those outside of the U.S., CMS stands for Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services.
And I believe an OPO is an organ procurement organization.
Yeah. OPO.
On the offensive.
Okay, so let's hear a little more on this loophole.
How many pancreas do you know have been harvested since 2020?
Over 7,000 across the United States.
Is there any, do we know the data that came from the research? Do we have any info that these pancreases were actually used for research?
Sir, they were not. Since 2020, islet cell transplants have remained flat, while pancreas harvesting has exploded with no proof at all that they were used for research.
The investigation, and thank goodness the Oversight Committee, I want to give kudos to them. The reading is again, shocking and evil. It showed that on a single day, the New Jersey Sharing Network threw out 100 pancreases after federal agencies started investigating this practice. Ms. Erickson, what does that mean for patients? They threw them away. What does that mean for patients? 100.
It means that 100 families in New Jersey, on the worst day of their life, because they lost a loved one, a wife, or a child to a car accident or some other injury, said yes to organ donation. They were lied to, and their loved ones' organs were cut out and left on shelves to exploit a CMS loophole. And Ranking Member Sewell, this happened to hundreds of patients in Alabama too, and I'm happy to send you that data.
Our report shows our Inspector General found examples of OPOs, organ procurement organizations misusing Medicaid dollars on everything from sporting events, limousines, retreats, five-star retreats, breaking the law on their nonprofit status. Ms. Erickson, an OPO CEO, Tom Moan from One Legacy in Los Angeles, gave a presentation about money in organ donation. He suggested that in America, it is the OPOs that hold the purse strings and that they only need the acquiescence of payers. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, I've seen that presentation, and OPOs have clearly acted like they are in charge, inflating their costs with million-dollar salaries, such as that of Mr. Moan, and executive perks that have nothing to do with patient care.
Who pays? Who is the payer when it comes to organ transplants?
The largest single payer is Medicare, so the taxpayer.
Boom. Not just the Somalis are getting rich.
Nope. Everything is a scam.
confirmed here on the Millennial Media Offensive.
Yes. Okay, let's move into some, I guess we'll call it technology news. I wanted to bring this windmill clip. This is in the energy folder, actually. But this is a report about some windmill projects being scrapped. Axed.
The Trump administration on Monday suspended leases for 5 large offshore wind projects that are under construction off the U.S. East Coast. It cited national security concerns, sending shares of offshore wind companies plunging. The suspension was the latest blow for offshore wind developers that have faced repeated disruptions to their multi-billion-dollar projects under U.S. President Donald Trump, who has said he finds wind turbines ugly, costly, and inefficient. The U.S. Department of the Interior said the move was the result of complaints by the Pentagon that the movement of the huge turbine blades, as well as the highly reflective towers that hold them up, cause radar interference that can make it hard to identify and locate threats. Secretary of the Interior Doug Burgum has previously said offshore wind installations can make the United States more vulnerable to attacks by swarms of drones. New York Governor Kathy Hochul and Connecticut Attorney General William Tong said in separate statements on Monday that states affected by the freeze were reviewing their options. The National Ocean Industries Association, a trade group representing offshore wind developers, urged the administration to end the pause quickly, pointing out that the Pentagon had been involved in approving the projects under past administrations.
Well, if these accusations of national security concerns are accurate, what does that say about the last Pentagon administration?
They were a national security threat.
Yeah. Okay, well, moving along. In the automation folder, it pains me to bring this report. We are truly witnessing the death of the American dream, because as far as I'm concerned, a critical part of the American dream is the dream that one day you will be called upon as a passenger of a jet airplane to rise to the occasion and land the plane because something has happened to the pilot. And that dream is dying. This is the Autoland clip.
It happened Saturday afternoon in Colorado.
Pilot incapacitation. 2 miles south of Kilo. Emergency auto land in 19 minutes on runway 30 right at Kilo.
A computerized voice breaking over the radio, alerting controllers at Rocky Mountain Metro Airport in Broomfield to an inbound emergency. The computer transmitting which runway the Beechcraft Super King would land on, then counting down as it approached.
Emergency auto land in 9 minutes on runway 30 right at Kilo.
Immediately, the controller at the busy regional airport vectored other planes away from the inbound emergency.
The computer is estimating to be on the ground here in a few minutes, and they are doing Autoland procedures. We are expecting them to kind of stop on the runway.
The system called Autoland is made by Garmin.
It automatically activates if it senses the pilot isn't responsive, or it can be manually activated by passengers.
Garmin says Saturday's incident is the first time it's been used in a real emergency.
Autoland takes complete control of the aircraft. It searches airports for the best option for landing.
A system that will automatically take over the aircraft and land it in the event of a pilot incapacitation. And so it does everything, including looking at the wind, and then it positions the airplane using the autopilot to land on that runway. It extends the landing gear, it extends the flaps, and it broadcasts repeatedly what it's doing and its time until touchdown, so that everybody involved knows where the airplane is and what it's going to do. And it lands the airplane.
Emergency auto land in less than 1 minute on runway 30 right at Kilo.
The plane had left Aspen earlier in the afternoon and reportedly suffered a pressurization issue in flight. The FAA tells NBC News the pilot had lost communications with air traffic control.
The airport is currently closed. We're not sure an ETA on when it's going to be back open.
North Metro Fire Rescue tells NBC News units followed the plane as it landed, but the 2 people on board shut down the engine contusions and walked off, requiring no medical attention. While commercial airliners have 2 pilots in the cockpit, most private planes don't. Garmin says 1,700 planes are now equipped with Autoland, offering a new level of safety for passengers if a pilot is incapacitated. Tom?
Well, I'm sure that can't be hacked and used to do 9/11s.
Now, from Garmin, Auto
Auto-terrorism.
jihad.
That's right. Auto knockdown building.
Auto jihad. Yes.
Auto jet fuel.
Auto, definitely not a missile.
That's right. Auto, everything's destroyed except for their passports. What a weird coincidence.
Okay, let's move into surveillance. Have you heard of surveillance pricing?
No.
Okay, well, let's PBS tell you about surveillance pricing.
Today is Super Saturday, the last Saturday before Christmas. It's predicted to be the second busiest shopping day of the year. If you're going online to buy some last-minute gifts, there's a chance the price you'll pay will be influenced by what's known as surveillance pricing. That's the practice of some retailers to use the power of AI to sift all sorts of personal data to set individualized prices online. Things like your age, gender, geographic location, and even browsing history could change the price you pay. Ali Rogan spoke with Jay Stanley, senior policy analyst for the Speech, Privacy, and Technology Project at the ACLU.
Thank you so much for joining us. So what is surveillance pricing and how does it work?
Surveillance pricing is basically when companies gather a huge amount of data about their individual customers, and we're living in an era where more data is being collected about us than ever before. Companies take that data and they use it to try to figure out basically how to wring more money out of you when you buy things from them. What is your pain point? What are you willing to pay? Questions like that. And there's a widespread experimentation happening with that kind of pricing in a number of business sectors today.
Interesting.
Yes, and I have some examples.
Perfect.
So what are some examples of that? How are these companies using the massive amounts of data that exist about all of us online to give us these, I've heard it described as like personalized pricing?
I mean, right off the bat, there's a lot we don't know because number one, they're going to claim trade secrets. Number two, they're using AI, which is very opaque in the first place. Even the businesses may not understand what the logic of the AI they're using is. But this first came into public attention when the president of Delta Airlines, speaking to investors, said that they were planning on using AI to set an increasing proportion of their prices, their airline prices, and that they would use personal information about people to do so. That created a bit of an uproar in Congress and elsewhere, and Delta backed off and said, no, we're not going to do this. But it really put the issue, which has been out there for 10, 15 years on a low-key level, really put it into the headlines recently. And so we're seeing attention by Congress, by state legislatures, by the Federal Trade Commission, and others. There was a recent report that Instacart has been doing differential pricing. A consumer group did a test, and they found that 75% of the products in Instacart were getting set with different prices with different people, with some of the prices 23% higher than for some people than for others. The Wall Street Journal has reported that retailers like Home Depot were setting different prices for different customers, with customers in affluent areas actually getting charged less. I think that there's a lot we don't know about what's happening, but it's definitely going on.
Oh boy, surge pricing.
Surge pricing is not surveillance pricing. Surge pricing is based on demand. Surveillance pricing is based on your advertising profile. The best example I've heard is your advertising profile states that you recently had a family member die. So the airline sees that and knows that you will pay a premium for any upcoming flights.
Right.
Now, I committed a faux pas last episode. I tried to provide some resources for people to try to take control of their data and what they share online and what is collected online. I did not include those in the show notes. I have included them in tonight's show notes. So I have some things you can look into, at least to get started with trying to take control of what's collected and what you offer up as far as personal data goes.
Right. Always accept all cookies on every website. Best practices.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, best practices. Brought to you by Amazon. Now, okay, so last clip to close us out, last two. I have a teaser for you just to give you an idea of where this is going. This is in the 2026 hiring trend folder to give us a quick look ahead to the next year. And let's hear the teaser for what one of the upcoming hiring trends is looking to be.
The most in-demand skill of 2026 isn't going to be AI prompting or data analysis. It's going to be the oldest skill in human history, storytelling. I'm Rona Pierce, and this is your Workfluencer Trend Report, a short episode where I break down how creator economy trends are reshaping the workplace.
Storyteller.
Okay.
Yes, you can make a living being a storyteller for major companies. So let's hear the explainer clip, and then you can kick off our outro and get us out of here and let the good people go about their business more informed than they were before they got here.
All right, here we go.
So I came across an article in the Wall Street Journal last week, and I haven't been able to stop thinking about it. The headline: companies are desperately seeking storytellers. And honestly, it's about time. LinkedIn job postings that include the word storyteller doubled in the past year. We're talking over 50,000 listings in marketing alone. Google is hiring a customer storytelling manager. Microsoft is recruiting a senior director of narrative and storyteller. A company called Vanta is offering up to $274,000 for a head of storytelling. And then there's Notion. They didn't just hire a storyteller, they restructured their entire organization around it. Their CEO recently announced they merged their internal communications, external communications, social media, and influencer functions into one team. They're calling it the storytelling team. 10 people, all focused on telling Notion's story, internally to employees, externally to customers, to future hires, to investors, everyone. That's not a job posting. That's a strategic bet on storytelling as a core function. This isn't companies slapping a trendy title on old PR jobs. This is a real shift. And the companies making this move, they're the smart ones. Here's what's driving it. Traditional media is shrinking. There are 17,000 fewer journalists working today than there were in 2000. Print newspaper circulation has dropped 70% since 2005. The old playbook was get press coverage, let reporters tell your story. That avenue is disappearing. But brands now have their own channels: social media, YouTube, podcasts, Substacks. They don't need to wait for a reporter to cover them anymore. They can publish directly to their audiences. But the problem is, having a channel isn't the same thing as having something worth saying. One CEO quoted in the article put it perfectly. He said, "The AI slop of it all creates so much distrust." And that's at the core, right? Distrust. And that's exactly it. AI can generate 1 million articles on any topic in seconds. What it can't do is tell you which advice actually works when you're in the trenches. It can't capture the real, unpolished human experiences that make people actually trust a brand. So companies are finally figuring out what creators have known for years. Connection beats content every single time. And storytelling is what creates that connection.
Spin team.
Yes, the spin team.
PR crisis management. That's what this is.
Yeah.
Storytelling.
Well, it's very it really highlights the overlap between propaganda and information warfare and marketing. The heart of information warfare, as we observe it here on this show, is a form of marketing. You have to market your national interests. You have to market why those guys are bad and deserve to die.
Right.
You have to market why you need to support this and what kind of person you are if you don't.
Right. We need to start a 10-year war in Nigeria because of the small school children that are being kidnapped And it has nothing to do with the influence of Russia in the Sahel region just to the north.
That's not part of the story.
Blackwater storytelling. Don't you care about small African children? School children? Come on.
Don't you care about the drugs coming into America?
Storytelling. Don't you care about your podcast enough to send us a GD donation?
GD means good dollar.
Great dollar.
Great dollar donation.
That's right. Now, thank you for everyone that did send in donations, and a very, very Merry Christmas to all on the offensive. May you hold your loved ones close and your stories closer. I don't know what that means. Just trying to tie it back to storytelling. I'm sick and tired.
And I'm sick and tired of the storytelling passing as journalism. And that's why we do this. We come here every Tuesday night, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time, to cut through the storytelling and give you the base reality as we see it, as best we can discern it. And you can help us discern it even better by contributing your information, your knowledge, your experience, and of course, your monetary support.
That's right. We'll be here next Tuesday. I think it's the 30th.
Episode 200. 200. Keep that number in mind. 200. A major milestone.
Right. Show number donations encouraged. Good dollar.
Great dollar.
Oh man, I need to blow my nose.
You don't sound too bad.
I know. I've been trying to balance it, not sound snotty. But I'm like,
you really got to get some saline spray.
Elise was talking about it the other day.
It's great.
Yeah.
Great product.
You can only use it for 3 days or something.
No, you can use it as much as you want to. It says so right there. It says buy another while you're at it.
That's just a spin story.
Right.
Story
the
told.
saline story.
Yeah.
Well, the saline story is better than the snot story.
True. Now, there will be... Maybe. I'm hoping I'm over this by next week. We'll see.
Tune in next week to see just how healthy Dan is.
Or what story I'll spin you. But from St. Louis, Missouri, I have been Dan Gehring.
And from America's South Coast, where we say Merry Christmas, I've been John G. Dew.
Merry Christmas to all, and to all a good night. Should that clattering arise, you'll be happy if you have one in the chamber. It could be Krampus. It's not always Santa. Could just be the crackhead next door. You never know. Be prepared. See you next Tuesday. MMO out. Alrighty.
Boy, that one was jam-packed.
Yeah, that was a long one. I am receiving the ire of my wife.
Oh, well, mine's coming shortly, so why don't we go ahead and produce this thing?
Let's do it.
And get on out of here.
All right, title list. I'll read them. 1/10 of a Bitcoin, double Waymos, Waymo data points, politics, religion, and cinema, hobo culture, stop teasing, hot takes, everybody's a NIMBY, pre-pasta, that's funny, narco drug, Ned Buttchin, talking out of your ass, Kia Boys, reindeer yoga, Russian wolves, blame the world, die for Santa Claus, rubble in the jungle, fraud tourism, auto jihad, good dollar, great dollar, sailing story.
Patriots of the Caribbean is not on there.
You check the art folder.
Oh, are we gonna
check the art email?
Oh, but I really like the Christmas art.
Which one? The appeal to MMO or the other one?
An appeal to MMO. That's my favorite.
All right, they're good. I'm not going to fight you on that one. I should upload these to the chat room quick. So we'll do that. We'll do Patriots of the Caribbean as a title, which is fun. I like that one. And we need an intro.
The natives are coming.
That is funny. Alrighty.
The only thing that could make an appeal to MMO better is if it was in a font that looked more like an Appeal to Heaven flag font. But that's a small gripe, and it's going to win regardless. The force thing is hilarious, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, put a marker down right here, and this will be where we start.
Okay. I did.
Yeah, the military force thing is Ned Butts or Ned Doofus, whatever his name is, CEO of some stupid made-up company. For him to say, it's a resurrection of Monroe Doctrine. I'm on Fox News. Look at me. I look at my chin. He's...
Turns out it was a burrito.
Yeah.
Yeah.
File the report.
That'd be pretty good.
Exactly.
It looks like there's a gun in his hand.
I think there would probably be a vetting process, but I would think just to have one of the authorizations would be phenomenal.
It looks
exactly.
To go to the Caribbean and shoot.
What you want to do is get your letter of marque, which is basically your warrant, and you just want.
I like for a nice coyote gun.
Commune with them, and I saw right through it.
Which the real coyote?
I had a pack of coyotes at my door. They were begging me to come out and commune with them, and I saw right through it. Which I hadn't seen at the time.
Someone had said, "This is your intro." It was weirdo, and I liked it at the time. I thought it was really good. Let's see.
Look at us. Look at our ships. Look at our helicopters. Now try that in our backyard, buddy. It was, you have a right to sell.
Now try that in our backyard, buddy. 7:06. Would have been 2 hours ago. Stop the show at 3 hours 45. Hour 45 in. Try to find that in this. It's not working.
Could you say it was idealistically faulted? Too idealistic? You could argue that, but that's what it was. It wasn't European nations, helicopters. Now try that in our backyard, buddy. It was.
I like that.
In our back. Now try that. Try that. Now try that in our backyard, buddy.
I like that right there.
I asked you to put down a marker for something different.
Yeah, let me just save that one first.
Yep, sure. Representative or Senator Mike Lee from Utah authorizations would be phenomenal.
It looks like there's a gun in his hand. Let's engage. Turns out it was a burrito.
Yeah.
Yeah.
File the report.
That was a parasailing tourist excursion boat.
4 shots and you can't drive home.
4 shots. The people trafficking kind.
No. The real ones. Furry ones.
I like for a nice coyote gun is a Ruger 1022. That'll put them down. If you really want to go the full...
Ascertain whether these are real or not. I'm comfortable about that because it's also happening in France.
It's normal. Normalize
Exactly.
it. Yeah.
Exactly.
That's good. That's a good pickup. I like that. Context they didn't provide in the clip itself.
Yeah, it's coming up.
Of course, Africa being all the old French colonies, so it makes perfect sense.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, good. I like that.
And why don't you put down a marker for my part of my anecdote there, just in case we don't. We've talked about.
Right.
This was a public morale operation. You know, we've recently done a military coup, and you can feel comfortable about that because it's also happening in France. But the point of this African coup, or a little Freudian slip there, the point, he snatches the umbrella and then flies away. Back. Hold up no monkey like that. Umbrella gonna hold up no monkey like that. Laughs and says, ain't no umbrella gonna hold up no monkey like that. It's just absurd.
Sure. I like it. Let's do it.
You like it better than Not in Our Backyard?
Hold on.
Ain't no umbrella gonna hold up no monkey like that. Now try that in our backyard, buddy.
Yeah, I do. All right.
You pick. And then did you cut out the break that I had to take?
No, I need to do that still.
Okay.
Where are you? $10 every week. It looks like
that's part of it.
It looks like there's a gun in his hand. Let's engage. Turns out it was a. So we're gonna have to recall you back to the States, there, buddy.
Can you
All right, and then we'll go.
duly marked? We can get back into.
Confirmed.
And I think I waited until we were pretty much at the end of. So if you want to just pause for a second.
Let's see what else we have. I don't have anything domestic here.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
File the report.
Call you back to the States. Let's see. Okay. Where is that clip?
Es perfecto.
Que grande. Oh boy. I'm going to be in the doghouse tonight.
Sorry.
That's all right. That's why we got a late start. You almost ready?
We'll do it live.
Music never gets old.
Do a demonstration.
A little bit of a scratchy throat. And
it was a little more. Your Honor, it was a teaser. On one side.
But the wages.
No, I've never experienced that.
When you're not feeling well?
No. That was probably gross. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a little bit.
It was a little more
Where the hell
effective
is this
than I intended
After
for it
this.
to be. I just wanted to
I was like, I feel like a
book light.
Unknown.
DJ that
who was also a black lady. Merry Christmas. And before this. Aha.
The time when not do. Having trouble identifying the waveform. Right.
Ain't no umbrella gonna hold up no monkey like that. Ain't no umbrella gonna hold.
Perfect.
Ain't no umbrella gonna hold up no monkey like that.
It must be quite apparent.
Okay, effects. Truncate silence. Perfect. All right, Patriots of the Caribbean, and we're doing the appeal to MMO art.
Yes.
Good job, Wolf.
Yes. A real patriot of the offensive.
We very much appreciate it. I don't want to go back to making art ever.
Oh, we could never be as good.
No, never. Never, ever, ever.
Info, and that's how they track the car to the.
All right, export audio. Perfect. Patriots of the Caribbean is what we're deciding on.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Of the Caribbean.